now. And let's see if it's... Yep, here we go. All right, and we are live. Hello, welcome to episode 5 of season 8 of The Sausage Factory. Dun 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 dun. That's our new theme song. Anyway, I'm your moderator, Pizzal. Joining me tonight is Jay the Stingray. What's up, Stingray?
What's going on, guys? Happy to be here. Ready to answer some cues.
Answer some Q's with some A's, and we've got a bunch of other stuff to talk about too. So we'll have a fun show tonight. But what's been up with you, Stingray? What are no giant coffee cup tonight?
Oh yeah, that's just cooling off over here.
Oh, okay.
Out here, this is the ultimate caffeine blend. This is the dollar store coffee, so it tastes awful, but it has a lot of caffeine in it,
and that's what matters.
Mm-hmm.
That's what matters.
That's what matters on the factory.
Also with me tonight is Lauren. What's going on, Lauren? How are you, buddy?
I'm okay. As we were speaking before, it's a little bit colder than it's been. It's finally the weather's broken up here. So I think we're all looking for winter to be on us in no time. Not thrilled about the new set of holidays crashing down upon us. That it seems like this year, faster than ever, they got the Halloween decorations down and the Christmas decorations up. Mm-hmm. But I'm happy for the people who enjoy it. It's just a lot for me.
Well, I mean, do you mean to tell me that you do not give thanks for the genocide of a complete people? You don't give thanks for that genocide?
Because I make my own genocide. I don't need to take thanks for anyone else's.
That's what I like to hear. And
it's kind of like, sort of a libertarian vision of Pol Pot. That's what I'm after here.
There we go. Very nice. And I know you love Christmas. You're a big Christmas guy. The birth of Christ and all, right?
Well, I guess he had a right to be born. And, if I was there, I would have definitely sent a card or something.
That's very thoughtful. Very, very thoughtful. I would have sent some more incense and myrrh, but that's just me,
Can we produce myrrh legally in America anymore? I think it might be on the dangerous substance list.
I'll have to look into that. Because if so...
illegally imported like lawn darts.
If so, I'm going to start growing my own myrrh.
There you go.
But also with me tonight is B-Movie Mike. What's up, Mike?
What's up, guys? Good to be back.
Let me guess. It is a brisk 65 down in Florida tonight, right?
It's a chilly 79 right now.
Oh, man. I was way off. Jeez.
Yeah. Jeez. I don't know how I'm going to take it, man. It's brutal.
Get out those
this weekend, we're supposed to dip down, and it's going to be in the 60s at night.
Man. Get out those hoodies.
That's like Eskimo weather. I don't know how I'm going to live through it.
Well, we'll be thinking about you up here in Kentucky next Monday and Tuesday when it's like 30 degrees. I'll be thinking about you, cursing you. But yeah, how you been, Mike?
Oh, pretty good. I had a fun Halloween. Watched a bunch of stuff. Finished up the Creep Show season. They had that surprise episode, which actually I thought was really good. I enjoyed the final sequence or segment that was directed by Tom Savini about the lake monster. I thought that was pretty good.
Oh, so that was the final episode of the first season.
As far as I know, that's the final episode of season 1.
Okay.
And I thought it was good. I can't wait for season 2. It had some high points and some low points, but overall, I'd give the season a strong B+, A-.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree. Yeah, I saw that last episode. I didn't realize it was going to be the last episode, but I saw it, and I liked it. I have to say, really, I think there was only 1 or 2 episodes that I would, there was one episode that was just both little vignettes were just kind of meh. But aside from that, it's been a really strong season. A lot of good episodes. Yeah. Oh, so
And I watched part of Joe Bob's Halloween Hoedown or Hootenanny or whatever it was called on Shudder. And it's the Halloween movies, and we Halloween movied ourselves to death this season. But it was nice to have Joe Bob's commentary, and I made it through the first one and the fourth one, but I couldn't bring myself to. Even Joe Bob couldn't lure me in for the fifth one. I was burnt by that point, but I did watch the Creep Show stuff, and I watched Creature from the Black Lagoon. Had to throw in a classic. So I had a good Halloween celebration, and I don't know, this year I didn't have the seasonal depression that usually follows the end of Halloween. It was like I felt like, through hanging out with you guys and watching the movies and having a good time and watching Creep Show, I felt like I watched stuff. Normally at the end, I feel like, I didn't get to watch enough stuff, but I felt satisfied. I felt oddly satisfied, and I wasn't glad it was over, but I wasn't depressed.
Yeah.
And I'm ready for the rest of the stuff. As far as being thankful, I'm always thankful for being alive and having food and a place to live and, stuff like that. As far as what happened hundreds of years ago, I had no part in it, and, whatever. I'm sure if you go far enough back in human history, you'll find plenty of atrocities to fret over if that's your thing. But I like to look forward, because it's better if you look where you're walking so you don't trip and fall on your face,
Yes.
What happened. There's not much we can do about it. Let's just be thankful for what we have and keep moving forward.
And that was a bonus wise words with the professor for tonight. So there you go. Always wise words coming from the professor. But I always like the day after Halloween. I always feel kind of like, because I'm always reminded immediately as soon as Jeremy sees me, he reminds me Halloween is over until next year. But yeah, I always have the list of movies that I want to watch, but I only get maybe through a quarter, if that many. So, but it was fun. We had some fun episodes on the show, watching the lesser Halloween movies, but it was fun. It was still fun. So.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I don't want 2 months of Christmas. Like I don't. That's too much. I'm okay with maybe a month, man. 2 months is too much.
I like the buffer of November. Let Halloween be over, and then give us a month to prepare. I don't mind the entire month of December being about Christmas, but yeah. So I tend I just ignore it. It's a funny thing. If something annoys you, just don't pay attention to it. You walk into a store and you see the big Christmas trees, but you just walk right by them and do what you got to do and get out. I understand the business quarters. You have 4 quarters of the business year, and this is the quarter where they try to make the most money. So, and it goes fast. So they got to do what they got to do to get their specials out there to make that money. So
yeah,
I understand it. And, and I just choose not to let it annoy me. It's getting older. It's dawned on me that I can choose what annoys me. And if I don't want something to annoy me, then I just don't let it. I'm in here to get a gallon of milk. I don't give a shit about your Christmas trees. Have a nice day. Beautiful thing.
There you go. More wise words.
There were people that put Christmas lights up the day after Halloween. Like,
if that makes them happy, go for it.
Now, I've not seen that here just yet, but it's coming really quickly. It'll be. Yeah, I mean, you were completely right about literally the day after Halloween. Not even the day after Halloween. Like 2 days before Halloween, Walmart was already building their holiday stuff, putting their holiday stuff out. Same thing. I went into like either a Dollar Tree or a Dollar General, I don't remember, just to get some little piddly Halloween stuff. And they'd already had they had boxes of Christmas stuff already out, and they were clearing off shelves this was like a week before Halloween. So, always a reminder. But, yeah. Also with me tonight is Stone Gassman. What's going on, Stone?
Just chilling up here in New York. We got a splash of rain in the past couple hours. Finally cleared up as I was walking home from the subway. But I'm in a really good mood right now, just getting through work and everything. And bought some movies from Best Buy. I went to Best Buy today and got John Wick Chapter 3. which I love. And I'm also a huge fan of this. And I will not explain myself. I love this movie. I don't care what anybody says.
Oh, you don't have to, man. It's a good time. Enjoy
Yeah,
it.
we all know it's the duck titties. It's the duck titties.
Of course it was duck.
Well, my 80s crush is in it. And she's smoking hot in that movie.
Oh, she's awesome. She's awesome.
Yeah.
And I also want to throw out a special shout out to Mr. Tony Candyman Todd, who liked and retweeted a tweet I put out last night on my 4 favorite movies of 1994, which happened to be Shawshank Redemption, The Ref, The Crow, and Muriel's Wedding. Special shout out to Mr. Todd. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. And with me tonight also is the Obsoletionist. What's going on, man?
Not a whole lot. Good to be in the house that Piz built.
I like that. I think that'll be the next shirt. Sausage Factory, the house that Peels built. There you go. But how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Just listening to it rain, hanging out, drinking a bubbly, of course.
Very nice.
Just been watching some movies last couple of weeks, trying to catch up.
Okay, cool. Very cool. Well, let me tell everybody out in the chat. This is our Q&A. So if you guys have any questions for us, feel free to go ahead and ask those in the chat. I'll keep an eye on the chat tonight and try to grab as many as I possibly can. Stingray, if you don't mind grabbing some as well, that'd be great.
Sure.
So we'll be doing the Q&A, but also we've got some other topics that we'll discuss tonight also. But let me give some shout-outs here to Borderline 11, Joe Caraluzzo, Movie Man 95, Barbecue Network, David Vines, Adam the Motion Picture History Horror Fan. That's a mouthful. Bradley Taylor, Joe Bob Tarhill. What's up, guys? Hope you all are doing well tonight. But yeah, so let me ask you guys right off the bat. I mean, how was your Halloween? Let me start with Stingray. How was your Halloween this year, man?
It was fun. Good times. It was actually a little chilly here, but I would rather that than the past few years. It was hot, so. But yeah, did the thing with the kids and had a good time.
Did you go trick-or-treating or did you go trunk-or-treating?
The trick-or-treating.
Okay.
Old school.
Good. Very good. Very, very good. What did the girls dress up as this year?
It started out as Pennywise and I think Annabelle or the girl from The Ring or something like that, but it wound up being like a butterfly and a cheerleader. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they flipped the script on me. So.
That's an odd transition.
No pressure from me. I let them do whatever they want. So.
Yeah, cool. Lauren, did you do anything on Halloween? Did you have a good Halloween?
Nothing I can speak about in public.
Oh, I understand. So I'm guessing illegal activities.
What state are we in? No, I had a really fun Halloween. I use the season for all the Halloweeny stuff. I really relax on the day itself, and it's a much more passive day. I did finish up Creepshow. I had the opposite experience of Mike. I actually thought the Savini episode was actually the weakest of the whole season, just because it didn't have that cynicism, that slight streak of cynicism that actually makes Creepshow, that I inherited from EC Comics. But I love the series. I think it's the best anthology series in a very, very, very long time. But no, the day itself isn't. I take the season as more important than the day. I think the day is great when you're very young, but I love the whole month as an adult. So I almost don't want to try and compact everything into the day.
Well, I felt like the first part of that episode about the fat sucking leeches had enough cynicism that it was balanced out by the Savini Lake Monster episode. So I felt satisfied.
I understand. I just like that whole EC Comics, like that ironic twist at the end that kind of pulls the story in. It just didn't really have that as compared to virtually every other episode in the series. There wasn't really a denouncement of any sort, and I guess that's it. It's competently made. I don't mean to attack Savini on it. I mean, it's a very competently...
Just joking. But I thought it was funny he had a white trash character without everybody being a white trash character. So there was balance.
Like, you could do that, right? You could do that.
See, it's possible.
It's possible. Wow. But yeah, no, I mean, if anyone out there has not just subscribed or gotten the free, trial to Shudder to watch Creepshow, it's worth it for that alone. And it's cheap enough that you're going to find other stuff. It really is a great service.
Yeah.
There's also another service that I've been enjoying a lot called Fright Picks, which is a free streaming service. There are ads, so if that offends you, you're going to get ads. But it has a lot of stuff on it that is not as easy to find. It has a true widescreen version of Deep Star 6 in the right ratio aspect, which literally there hasn't been a home video version of that can accommodate that. So there's some really good stuff. Alice is on there. A lot of good stuff. And that's free.
Cool. I'll definitely have to look into that. But yeah, I think I kind of feel the same way that you do about it's about the month. It's about the fall season that really kind of gets me going. The day of Halloween usually to me, again, it's very chill. It was a very chilly Halloween here, but it's very kind of just quiet. It was so cold, as a matter of fact, and rainy that they postponed trick-or-treating in a lot of the places around here until the following day. So
yeah, they did here too, but it's Jersey, so the kids showed up anyway on the right day, and nothing happened the next day.
Yeah.
that's for real. It didn't matter. No one was listening to that, and it rained hard. There was killer winds. We lost all the leaves on the day.
Well, my Halloween is usually like a day before Halloween or a couple of days before, because I host, my girlfriend and I, we co-host a big Halloween party for the agency that I work for the special needs people. And that takes up pretty much the entire month of October, planning and organizing and getting all that done. That usually by Halloween day, it kind of feels like Halloween's already over for me. So it's just a real chill kind of.
Hey, what was your costume this year?
Michael Myers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Michael Myers. It was a good time. It was a fun time.
I was hoping for somebody else from the WWE list.
You know, I've thought about the Ultimate Warrior for a few years because
that would be cool.
Because I've still got the muscle suit from Scott Steiner. I would just need to like paint my face and get a wig. You know what I mean? And I could pull it off. Just run around screaming at everybody. You know what I mean? Saying crazy stuff like at the top of my lungs. You know, that's what it's all about. Man. But yeah. Geez. Let's see. Christian Hanna's with us. What's up, Christian?
What's up, Big Money Piz?
How are you, man? How did you spend your Halloween?
I worked, and then I got home, and I think I went back and forth on what movie we were going to watch. It was going to be Maniac Cop because I had just got those movies in, but the wife said, no, we're watching Saw. So we watched Saw. And then I went to sleep and had to go to work the next day. But you know what, Piz? Nothing went wrong, and the older we get, I think that's all we can really ask for. It was a good day nonetheless. So, you know, no complaints, man.
Cool.
Yeah, next year it's coming on Friday, so that's cool.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's awesome. What did you do on Halloween, the Obsoletionist?
Took the kids trick or treating, just around the neighborhood. No, not a lot of excitement there.
No horror movies.
I watched The Witch around the Halloween and really enjoyed that. That was awesome.
That's a great movie.
Amen, man. I love that movie.
It really is. The tension they built up and the payoff. It was well worth it. I really loved it. But last night I watched Prom Night for the first time. So there's that.
Wow.
Hopefully not the remake.
1980 original.
No, 1980. 1980.
And your thoughts?
You still got the song stuck in your head, don't you?
Well, I'm just Jamie Lee Curtis's moves are still stuck in my head in that dance number. That made it for me. So, but I was very 80s, which there's nothing wrong with that. Very early 80s, late 70s vibe, and I liked it. And you could tell they were really building up for that decapitation scene. I think that was where they kind of blew their wad on that scene. But I enjoyed it.
But
blew their wad.
How addictive that song is. You mentioned the name of the movie, and in the song popped into my head in its entirety.
Yes. Nice. Definitely an earworm.
Stone, what did you do on Halloween, man?
Well, I decided to watch a couple of movies I'd never seen before. I'm ashamed to say that they're not part of the Halloween recommendations, which I still have a list. But from my Netflix queue, I decided to watch Blackula and Scream, Blackula, Scream for the very first time.
Nice.
They are dated, they are hammy, and I enjoyed the hell out of them.
Mm-hmm.
I am astonished. Did you know that Blackula was the very first horror film that won Best Horror at the Saturn Awards?
No.
That
No
blows
idea
my
about
mind. That blows my mind. I mean, Blackula was actually a huge hit in '72. I mean, it's spawned a sequel, obviously. And 1974's Blackenstein has nothing to do with those other two movies. I'm just throwing that out there. That was I guess that's Beyond the Door to the Exorcist, that kind of thing. But so I decided to watch
door,
those,
not
and
beyond
they were
the green
enjoyable
door,
for
right?
what they were, and I had fun. And, yeah, not beyond the green door. Yeah, or
good stuff. Good stuff.
good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. Let's see. We do have we've already got a question. Let's see. A Barbecue Network wants to know, what are my favorite Sausage Factory episodes? And I've actually got a handful, really. The one that jumps to mind immediately is the My Bloody Valentine live commentary we did with Paul Kelman. That one was a lot of fun because Paul Kelman had not actually seen My Bloody Valentine in many, many years. So watching that movie with him was him kind of having a walk down memory lane and remembering the movie and remembering the people that he acted in the movie with, particularly the one guy, the heavyset guy with the mustache. And like, that was like his best friend. And, he'd passed away. So it was just really cool. It was more cool watching Paul Kelman watch the movie than watching the movie. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love My Bloody Valentine, but he was just kind of like, watching it for the first time in many, many years. And it was just really cool. It was just really
Piz,
cool.
you need to reach out to Scream Factory. Piz, send them the link to that. Maybe they could throw that on the Blu-ray. That could be the actual commentary track, man.
That would be cool.
That'd be badass, dude. Hey, shoot for the stars, Piz. You can do it.
That would be cool, but yeah. Let's nothing. I won't go down. I won't go down.
Do I need to go listen to that? Because I haven't seen that video. Do I need to go listen to it?
No.
Let's. I don't watch it.
No.
It
has nothing to do with the commentary. It has nothing to do with the commentary.
Okay.
Scream Factory is just very. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. They wouldn't accept it. They wouldn't accept it.
Okay.
Another one that was a lot of fun was our Silent Night Deadly Night Part 2 commentary with Eric Freeman. That one was a lot of fun. And any Friday the 13th show that we've had with Peter Brackey's just been really great too. So I mean, we've done a lot of shows, and I mean a lot of them I've thought were really good and entertaining and fun. So. But go back and watch the Paul Kelman, My Bloody Valentine live commentary. That one was just, I don't know, really fun. And I think a big part of it for me was like walking Paul Kelman through the Google Hangouts process. And I'm trying to get all that set up with him too. So that was like a big deal. But yeah, that was a really fun one. Let's dive into some movie discussion here. Let's talk about well, speaking of My Bloody Valentine, you guys are aware that My Bloody Valentine and April Fool's Day are getting Scream Factory Blu-ray releases, right?
Yeah, both Paramount movies, huh?
The My Bloody Valentine, they just dropped like the artwork for the My Bloody Valentine release just the other day, and it looks really good. I'm hoping that they get the additional 20 minutes of April Fool's Day that wasn't in the theatrical version with the original ending. That would be really cool. So yeah, I'm really excited for those two releases.
Are they going to do that with My Bloody Valentine?
They're doing remastered versions of the theatrical and of the uncut versions.
And the uncut is being restored using the process they developed to restore Jaws.
Excellent.
Okay.
So it's going to not look jarring when the additional gore scenes show up.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. Yeah.
Well, that alone will make it worth a buy.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the process of that restoration from the Jaws Blu-ray that came out, I recommend it because it's a fascinating process to see how much work it is. So the fact that a small cult film is getting this kind of treatment is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I can't wait to check it out. I can't wait to check out both of those releases because I mean, especially my April Fool's Day. It's been so long overdue.
Yeah, what a strange movie, man. It's so unique, and I like Biff Tannen in it too.
But
yeah, when I first saw April Fool's Day in the theater, I was one of those people that was initially disappointed by it because it was kind of sold as a serious horror film. It was a slasher film, and it was had some Friday the 13th DNA in it, and and when I saw the result of it, I don't know, I left a little disappointed, but it's grown on me over the years. I do appreciate it for what it is, but my initial thoughts on it coming out of the theater was disappointment.
My initial thoughts on it the first time I saw it on VHS was that way. I felt tricked.
Yeah.
And but yeah, over the years it's grown on me, and I've come to appreciate it because it tricked me. So
it was an April Fool's joke on the audience. I kind of felt like, it was like, oh.
But originally the movie had like 20 more minutes where there was a real killer. There was like there was like the reveal of, hey, it's all a joke, but then one of the people actually starts knocking people off after that. So
I missed it in theaters when it came out, but I picked up the novelization, which has all that in it. So I originally, my first encounter with it was the novelization, and then when I eventually did see the film, I was shocked that it ended where it did because I don't doubt that it is only probably 20 minutes in the film, but it's like the halfway point of the novelization.
Wow.
So I was stunned. I was like, wait, what? Is there a second part coming? But if you do want to, if this release doesn't have that footage, but for whatever reason, you can find that novelization fairly cheap online on ABE Books is a great source for it. You'll find it cheap, and that way you can at least experience what it was, even if we never get to see it.
Yeah, hopefully they have that footage and we'll be able to add it on. I think that would be great.
I miss novelizations. That needs to happen again. I realize that the time for it might be in the past because it was a way to actually relive the movies when they weren't playing anywhere and weren't on television at the pre-VHS time period. But they were a good way to become a fan of something. And I halfway wonder if the films that are coming out today would benefit, as far as longevity from that kind of experience with the fans.
I lost mine long ago, but I had the novelizations for the original Halloween, Halloween 2, and Friday the 13th 3. And I remember having a lot of fun rereading them just for that same reason. It was like reliving the experience, but it's books are always more more of a rich environment because they don't have the limitations that film does. So yeah, it was great to be able to it's like reading the source material almost. It felt really really cool, entertaining experience.
If you want to get the Halloween 2 and 3 novelizations back, I know for a while they were. I bought them both off of eBay for like $20 or $30 not long ago. So I mean, if you want to get those back, now the original Halloween is pretty expensive. Same thing with Friday the 13th 3, but Halloween 2 and 3, those for a while were going relatively cheap online. So,
and a novelization for Friday 3, it had photos.
So that was the Michael Avalon?
Yeah, and it had some of the photos were from scenes that were cut from the movie, which I thought were cool. Like when she gets her head cut off at the end by Jason after he busts through the door, but that's not actually in the movie. Yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool.
There's 2 novelizations of Part 3. So you had the first one, the Michael Avalon one, which is the better of the 2.
Yeah, I had the first one, yeah.
Yeah, it's neither of them are really well written, but it's the better of the 2 by a mile.
Cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Oh, goodness gracious. Let's talk about Terminator Dark Fate. Did any of you guys get out to watch Terminator Dark Fate?
Let's not. What's next?
I enjoyed the half in the bag review. That's all I'm going to say.
What was the half in the bag reviews diagnosis of the film?
Oh, verdict?
Yeah.
They, I mean, Mike Ciclassa thought it was okay. He thought it was watchable. And they pretty much dismissed it, though, as just another recycled, same story, same bullshit. But that's to sum it up, yeah.
Lauren, you went and watched Dark Fate. What were your thoughts on the film?
It was boring. It's just the Terminator movies again. Everyone's getting upset about the wrong things. I don't care if they make big changes. Just please show me something I haven't seen a million times. It's color by number. It's exactly the movies you've seen before. And I mean precisely the movie you saw before. They just changed out set pieces. Instead of a factory, we'll put them in the Hoover Dam. It's the same shit. And I really don't see. I couldn't even get offended by the film properly because I was just bored. And the CGI is awful, like unbelievably color forms on a plastic sheet, awful. I mean, claymation would have been better. It's just you don't feel like any of it feels real. 10 minutes in, the Rev 9 jumps over just there's this jump, and it's like faker than anything in any of the DC universe, like superhero jumps. It's just, again, everyone knows my feelings on James Cameron, but this didn't even have his level of realism. It's just boring and horribly acted, except for a few actors. In fact, including some actors who everyone really was rooting for to do well. Don't get me wrong. Schwarzenegger was fine with what he was handed. He wasn't handed anything worthy of him, but he was fine. And Mackenzie Davis, thank you for helping me with the name before, Piz, did fine. She did well. Everyone else is awful. I mean, people are looking at this movie, even people bashing it are looking at it through rose-colored glasses of nostalgia, because this is a legitimately bad, poor, outdated film. And I can't imagine who the fan of this thing is. I really can't. I will take Genesis over this only because at least Genesis had an idea. It was a bad idea, and it was done extremely poorly. This thing is just repeating the second movie. I mean, it's shocking how closely it replicates the second film. If you thought that The Force Awakens was too close to A New Hope, this is closer.
Well, a lot of critics were comparing it to The Force Awakens, and my thought was, okay, they're comparing it to Force Awakens. Is it because it's basically T1 and I mean The Force Awakens, and I like The Force Awakens, but The Force Awakens was a plagiarized version of A New Hope. So that's what I thought, you know.
And I think kind of the shocking thing about it is that it looks expensive at times, and it looks incredibly cheap at other times. It is so inconsistent. People were laughing. There was maybe 6 other people in the theater when I saw it. And I didn't pay for my ticket because I have the pass to the theater. But people were laughing at the movie, not with it. It was unbelievably poorly received. In fact, I know for a fact I wasn't the angriest, or I wasn't angry, I was just bored. But I know I didn't take it as badly as some of the audience. And we did have walkouts.
But no kidding.
But I want to actually, this subject is kind of interesting to me because I've been hearing before this movie came out, there was these talking points that kept coming up in the professional reviews of it being the best since T2, which I don't believe at all. But I also saw as the rebuttal, as there was a kind of a counter argument building online, we started hearing the same arguments there too, which was odd. We started hearing, oh, well, this never should have been a franchise, which nothing needs to be a franchise. You can make a good sequel to anything if you write a good sequel. There is no excuse. I almost see people saying this shouldn't have been a franchise as making an excuse for the film, and that's worse than just blanketly following the talking points of the studio. This film could have been great with a good screenplay. Any subject matter you can build a good film out of. I won't let it off the hook. It was one of the worst films I see this year. And yeah, easily. And I saw it the same day I saw Countdown, and Countdown is not an ambitious film at all, but it doesn't make any big mistakes. So guess which film I thought was way better? You know, the little $8 million production that didn't have an ambitious bone in its body but didn't make any mistakes is a better film.
Well, why do you think people stayed away from this movie because the trailers looked bad, because people just don't care about Terminator movies anymore? Or do you think it was the identity politics that seemed to be so thick in this movie? What do you think? What do you think the reason was?
You know what? I think that those of us who are really into movies have a very, very, very skewed perspective on things. I don't think the average, welder in Illinois really is aware of all the conversations we have about identity politics and about, the saturation point for a franchise. If they had seen a good trailer, I think they would have been in the theater. Hey, I remember I had a good time with that 25 years ago. I'll go back. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's at all out of the realm of possibility. I think this thing smelled bad to people from the first time they encountered it. For some of us that we saw still early because we're into movies. Some people saw a television spot because they're not. Some people saw a theater trailer because they go to one movie a month. But I think we all came back going, that does not look promising. Movies are expensive. I pay for 3 streaming services at home. Why am I going to a theater and paying for a month of a streaming service to see something that looks not even good? I think it's harder today to get butts and seats for movies, especially these type of movies. There's also the fact that in 30 days, this thing will be available for streaming if you're willing to pay a premium.
Yeah.
No one needs to see this that badly. It wasn't like it was the first Terminator film in 10 years. We had one, 3 years ago, 2 years ago? What was it?
It's like 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago.
And that film looked bad too, but at least it had a foreign box office that could save it. This thing has nowhere to save it. It's going to lose it's going to lose overall $100 million.
Yeah.
Damn.
I mean, it's just, I don't know. I think people are waking up to the fact that the way the entertainment industry is working now, they're going to be a lot more discerning. And you can't just say, hey, look, you used to like this title, right? Hey, look, it's a movie star you kind of used to like. Who cares if she's 30 years older? I think people are going to be more discriminating. You're going to have to build good stuff, or at least have really convincing trailers to get people to show up.
You would agree.
Horrible.
So you would agree that they should terminate the franchise?
It is. Well, we did. The fans terminated the franchise. To give you an idea, and I'll get off the soapbox and stop monopolizing time right here, but one of the first lines of dialogue in the film, this is not a spoiler, is Sarah Connor saying in a voiceover, "And I was terminated." That's the level of writing. It's that on the nose. It's that gritty. And it doesn't get better. There's another point in the movie where I kid you not, a line in this film is, "I wish you guys weren't so white."
What?
It's not. I'm not offended by. You want to know? It's the funny thing is, I'm not offended by the intent of that dialogue. I'm offended by how poorly written that dialogue is.
And this is from the guy that directed the Deadpool movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? Oh.
They can't all be winners, Stone.
Yeah, I know. It's just
Hey,
weird.
Lauren, let me ask you this. Lauren, I got a question. I got to ask you this. Is this movie made partially because of Schwarzenegger's own ego? Was he not able to handle the last one being poorly received? Does he just get scripts for these movies all the time and he's just like, what the hell? Like, this one's pretty good. What was the birth of this movie?
First of all, he's not in enough of this film for it to be an ego piece. He might have 12 minutes of screen time. But no, this is David Ellison, who is the rights holder of the film. He technically lost the rights to this after Genesis. So they reverted to James Cameron the same way the Friday rights reverted to Victor Miller. A little bit different of a scenario because of the way the series works, but Cameron immediately sold it right back to him. So Jim Cameron sold the rights to Terminator to the guy who made Genesis right back to him. And then, so Ellison it's again, you buy rights, you have to put something in production by a certain date. Usually it's a 3-year line, could be as much as 5. He needed to turn it around. And I think he thought, with Jim Cameron's name on it, bringing Linda Hamilton back, I think he thought this was a no-lose proposition. But then they spent $190 million to make the movie.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people knock it because they're like, okay, so this movie cost $200 million. Where'd the money go? Because the money's not on the screen.
I don't see it. If you compare Deadpool to this, and Deadpool was made for $60 million, they look about as expensive as each other. But one is a better film than the other, and it's not the one it should be at that price tag.
You almost wonder.
It's unbelievable.
Sorry. You almost wonder why they don't remake the damn thing. Honestly.
15 years they will. Maybe 10.
Yeah, it's inevitable, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if theatrical releases will work that way in 10 years. I'm not saying there won't be movie theaters, but I'm not sure that... I don't think anything will be exclusively just at cinemas by that point. I think there will be a price tag you can pay to watch it at home or go to the theater for a lower price. I think that's coming. Because that might actually save something like this. If you didn't have to leave your house and pay the same price, people might have actually stayed at home and watched it. Mm-hmm. I think when you put all the inconvenience out of the way, this was never going to play. Also, look when they released this thing. If they thought it's a Terminator film, if they had any faith in this, they would have put this in summer.
Yeah.
Definitely. The fact they dumped it the day on Halloween tells you they had no faith in it. Halloween is a week where people have spent money on parties, getting their kids ready. So you picked one of the most expensive weeks of the year to release your big tentpole, movie. Clearly, something was really wrong. They knew what they had.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and two, I mean, you can kind of gauge because wasn't Tim Miller attacking toxic fans over this movie like months and months and months before it was even out? So I mean, that kind of let me know that they're kind of, they know what they've got on their hands, that they're already attacking fans for disliking the movie. And it's months from being released. So, I mean,
and all that stuff that you're expecting to be in the movie is in it. That's just not the most offensive part of the movie. The most offensive part of the movie is it's dull.
Yeah.
If I gave you a blank sheet of paper, if I gave everyone in this panel a blank sheet of paper and say, put 7 plot points you think would be in any Terminator film, you would write this movie. It would be shocking how close you guys would get, not knowing a thing.
You mentioned the Friday the 13th rights and whatnot. Stone Sour 8 asks us if there's any info on the Friday the 13th lawsuit, and I've not heard anything in a while. So
the final briefs were delivered to the court from both sides on the 15th of October. They will be reviewed. That's the equivalent of oral arguments. It all happens basically electronically at this point. And the court will get back to him whenever the court get back to him. There is still additional information or exhibits that can be entered, but at this point there probably isn't much more. The judge in the case has a history of siding with creators over corporations. It's a pretty extensive history. He was a Clinton appointee, so politically it also falls in line. I hate to say it because I actually would like a different result, but everything I hear is that this thing is basically over. We're just waiting to hear that Victor owns the rights to his original screenplay, which means he owns the intellectual right to everything in his screenplay. That does not kill the series, but it changes it fundamentally forever. Or a deal has to be made, which makes the film more expensive. These films are made as negative pickups, and what that means is the distributor basically doesn't have any of their own money on the line, but they get paid second. It makes it harder to get these things greenlit, even though they're not expensive. Do I think it'll happen? Yes, but we're still 3 years away, if everything goes right, from seeing another Friday. Wow, I'm pleasant today.
We did get a question from, let's see, who asked the question? Oh, it's our old buddy Chris, Crystal Lake Counselor 1977. He asks us our thoughts on the Scream 5 news, which broke, I think, just today. Spyglass Entertainment is making a new Scream film. I don't know, is it a direct sequel or is it like a soft reboot? I'm not sure exactly what it's supposed to be, but there is a new Scream movie in the works. What do you guys thoughts?
I mean, who gives a shit, honestly? Who gives a shit?
I don't care.
I've already seen them. It's going to be the same thing. Everybody's like, who done it? You know, the TV show blew chunks. But basically everything on MTV blows chunks.
The first character who has speaking lines to the final girl is the killer.
Yeah.
How the movies work. And maybe they'll do something cool and really break the formula, but I don't trust them to.
Yeah.
I was going to say. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of, I don't know. I just don't have any... I don't know. I have no desire to watch another Scream movie, to be honest.
Me neither.
So, I mean, maybe it'll catch on and I mean, I don't know, but I just have no desire for a new Scream movie, to be honest. So.
No, not since Craven died.
Yeah, well, and even, I wasn't a big fan of Scream 3 or Scream 4. I'm not really a big fan of Scream 2, to be honest. But, whatever.
I rewatched Scream 4 recently, and I think it's a decent film.
I saw it once in the theater, and I really did not like it, and I've not wanted to go back.
But yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the franchise anyway.
That movie should have ended when the girl was getting carted into the hospital and you thought she got away with all that shit. They could have had some balls and done that, but instead everybody had to get it. I like David Arquette. He doesn't bother me, but everybody's living. I was like, oh, damn. So that would have been cool. Yeah.
You want to hear my pet on how I would end the series?
Let it rip.
Go for it.
You just do it. You do this. You do your generic Scream film. And the very last scene is just Sydney at home. The phone rings. She picks it up, and you replay the opening with Drew Barrymore, just with her, and she dies. And that's how you end it. And you don't say who that killer is. That's how the series ends.
Badass. Maybe that'll be the fifth movie. We can kill.
It won't be.
No.
It won't
they can't afford Nev. She ain't going to come back.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's talk about Dr. Sleep. Are you guys excited for Dr. Sleep? I did see a quote from Stephen King saying that Dr. Sleep, quote unquote, redeems Stanley Kubrick's The Shining.
Go fuck yourself, Stephen. Go fuck yourself, dude. Seriously. Come on, man.
Does Kubrick's The Shining need redeemed?
I think Lauren said it best last week. Kubrick probably was like, King, get the fuck out of here. I know what I'm doing. and King couldn't help himself. They have to hate each other. They have to hate each other. He was on the Mick Garris podcast about 3 months ago, and he was shit talking Kubrick again about the TV movie he made, which is fucking terrible.
Yeah.
It's so bad. And God bless Mick Garris. I love the guy. He's so nice. But King walks all over his ass. King probably said, "This is who you're hiring. This is what you're doing. And this is how big my dick is. Get ready to take it. And you're not going to complain about it." And Mick Garris, this 98-pound, scrawny ass, does what he says. And that's the bottom line. And Kubrick probably could have, like, I've
never heard you this fired up before, man.
Well, it's bullshit. Come on. It's bullshit.
Attack.
You know? Look, I don't care. I'm nobody. I will never say I know what a great movie is, but if I had a gun to my head and somebody says, say The Shining is a bad movie, I would say, you're fucking wrong. You better kill me because I will haunt your ass.
Well, here's the funny thing with Stephen King and The Shining.
The way he looks.
He's perfectly fine with all of the other horrible adaptations of his books. Because he's like, well, they don't, the book is still the book. So the book is the book. But with The Shining, something about The Shining has triggered him for the past 40 years. And he's still not over it.
It's very simple, Piz. Kubrick rejected his screenplay. Warner Brothers hired him to adapt his own screenplay. They were ready to roll with it. Kubrick came on board and said, no. That's all it is.
Yeah, he got into it with Romero over the original Creepshow. He was pissed at Romero for a long time. Over some
Romero, fucking asshole. He can't hold Romero's jock.
I support anybody's quest for sobriety, and I think it's great that you want to get your life together. Let's put that out there first. But Stephen King was a lot more fun when he was fucked up on drugs.
Yeah,
I missed that. Stephen
better
King.
material.
Maximum Overdrive.
Yeah, and like that's a good movie, right?
That's what I was going to say, though. It's like we should trust Stephen King. How much? I mean, trailers for Maximum Overdrive where he comes out under a harsh white light and says, "I'm going to scare the hell out of you." Did he watch his own movie?
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
Nah,
Well, he's got Martin Scorsese syndrome, where he thinks everything he does is the fucking greatest thing in the world. He gets to determine what's what.
Yeah, but Scorsese didn't write The Langoliers.
Yeah, I was going to say, Scorsese's got more of a point.
I just think it's funny. I mean, like, King is fine with all of the horrible adaptations that were made on his novels, but for some reason, The Shining has just been under his craw for 40 freaking years. And let me tell you, I'm looking forward to Dr. Sleep, but
hell yeah, me too.
I sure as heck hope that it's more Kubrick Shining sequel than Mick Garris Shining sequel. Put it that way.
I'm hearing very good things.
Who's directing it? Who directed it?
Mike Flanagan.
Is that a good director?
He's a very good director. I actually heard him say, I don't know if it was from him or somebody else who said that his film, it pays homage to both Shinings. In certain
bullshit.
I hope it is. I certainly hope it is. Because, I mean, and again, let's be real. That Shining miniseries was garbage. I saw it one time when it first aired, and I thought it sucked, and I never wanted to see it again.
It is bad, man. It was just simply and purely bad. To quote the great Dr. Loomis, it was purely and simply evil. It sucked. It blew chunks.
And it's not even the worst King adaptation. Think about that.
Oh, it's not nearly the worst.
It's not.
Pissed. I don't think he likes Christine either. And I could make sense of that because John Carpenter probably could give a shit about Stephen King either. John Carpenter doesn't give a shit about nothing. You know what I mean? So, I remember him saying that in an interview. He's like, oh, he liked it, but then a few years later he said he didn't like it. And John was like, oh, whatever. Puffed up his cigarette. He don't give a shit about King either.
Well, I mean, look,
the crazy thing is? The crazy thing is, like, Cronenberg made fundamental changes to Dead Zone. He kept a few big set pieces, but a lot of that movie is completely Cronenberg's invention instead of the novel. But he's not upset about that.
This is some petty shit, Lauren. I know it. This has to be some petty kind of shit.
It's some personal.
Yeah. Dude, I'm telling y'all, on that podcast Mick Garris does, I love the podcast. He had Stephen King on, and he was talking about them making that TV miniseries. And he says, I remember he was like, Mick, and I remember you telling me, well, this happened in the Kubrick stuff. And I remember telling you, Mick, fuck Kubrick. I don't give a shit about him. This is some petty shit. Because he remembers telling Mick in 1994, whatever the hell it was, fuck him saying to fuck Kubrick. So I don't know, Stephen King. I love you, baby, but Jesus Christ, like, get over yourself. I mean, goddamn.
Listen, first 2 decades of King, I love. Maybe, I don't know, first 15 years, I love. There's no question about it, and I don't think anything can ever take away those classic years. I mean, seriously, since Lovecraft, there's not a, well, maybe since Blatty, there was not anyone in the horror fiction world that was as important as him. But I'm getting tired of the endless adaptations, and this is where it's leading us. Doctor Sleep has not been adapted before, and I'm hearing very good things about it. It has a challenge. It has a tightrope walk to watch, so that's something I'm going to be very interested in. But I wouldn't mind if we took a little bit of a moratorium on King adaptations for a while.
Mm. Has anyone read the book?
I haven't.
No.
Yeah, I haven't talked to anybody that's actually read it, so I don't know if it's any good or not.
My hope is that the movie is a lot like Kubrick's Shining, and King is just that petty that even though it's probably a lot like Kubrick's Shining, he just wants to be able to say it rights the wrongs from Kubrick's Shining. And I would not be surprised if that's the case.
I would be shocked if he does not have money on the back end of the film at this point. I'm sure that's written into the contracts. So I don't think you're going to see him talk bad about any film adaptation that comes out here on out. Hey, he talked up the Dark Tower adaptation as a good thing that came out.
I was
sure there was money.
Yeah, I was going to say he seems to be the worst critic of his own adaptations, because he loved, like you said, the Dark Tower, praised the Dark Tower up and down. He loved It Chapter 2. He what else? Pretty much everything except The Shining. He's just loved.
I don't think he liked. What was it? Night Shift, the one with the rats.
Graveyard Shift.
Graveyard Shift.
Yeah. He's kind of been harsh about that as well. But the difference is one of them is a cheap exploitation film, and the other one's a film classic.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, I like Rose Red too, man. I remember watching that when it came on TV. But
our buddy Jack Craven says, any thought, or wants to know if we have any thoughts on the Escape from New York remake, and the fact that after 13 years of development hell, dozens of rejected scripts, studios, directors, and actors, they are still trying to make it today. Is anybody excited or wanting to see a Escape from New York remake?
No.
No.
Give me fresh shit. I don't want these goddamn remakes no more, man.
Well, I got a question. Does Kurt Russell's son Wyatt play Snake Plissken? Because he would be the obvious choice.
I heard that The Rock was going to be Snake Plissken.
Oh, hell no. Oh. I'd rather have a dog fart in my face and watch that.
Our buddy Cameron is in the chat. He says The Shining 4K will be $12 on Black Friday. Cameron, do you remember that list of Black Friday movie deals that you sent me last year? I did a whole video about it. It was like one was for movies and one was for video games and everything else. Do you know if they're doing a new list like that for this year? Because it was like an awesome, it manually updated with the best prices. It was like a spreadsheet. It was really cool. If something like that's out there floating around this year, please send me the links. But I think we all pretty much emphatically have no desire to see a Escape from New York remake. No, not at all. There was another question about remakes. PlayStation 9 asked us, what movie would you love to see remade? Are there any movies that we would like to see get a remake?
No.
Why?
I mean, maybe things that weren't, as popular at the time. I think something like Alien Nation would work really well right now, considering the political climate. Stuff like that, race relations,
No.
stuff like that. So I think it may be interesting.
But couldn't we write a completely original story that cover that where the debate is now and just a new property without the worry about pissing off the old fans or being stuck with maybe elements that aren't contemporary?
What about escapist entertainment that has nothing to do with politics?
Yeah. Whatever happened to that idea? What I really find disheartening these days is how studios are making they're making the same movie. They're just gender swapping or race swapping the lead characters, and they're like, it's brand new. It's a brand new movie. It's the same movie, just with instead of a male as the lead, it's a female. Instead of a white person as the lead, it's a person of color. It's the same freaking movie. Make new movies that star people of color or women, and forget.
Yeah, I agree with that. The only thing
I don't understand why does that even matter? When you write a story, shouldn't the lead character be I'm a merit-based person, so shouldn't the character earn their strength no matter who they are or what color they are, and be the best character to serve the story regardless of race or sexual organs? Why is that even necessary anymore? Can't we just have good, strong characters without worrying about their origins? I mean,
no.
I don't get it. It just irritates me.
There's no casting anymore. You remember, like back in the '80s, there's like the Nightmare films. How many people wanted to be the lead role that were stars that didn't get it, and Mark Patton got it? Like the director was able to pick the people he really wanted. I dare say some of these directors get hired on where you're gonna have this person has to be black. We gotta have 2 women in this role. We gotta have because this person was white the last time. I'm sure it's like that. There's a lot of crap where it's already pre-planned out. Directors, there is no director anymore. It's probably on some of these movies a guy that just happens to say action and cut, but he's told what to do. He's a puppet.
Well, and that's even a problem because now it's how many female directed films are there? How many person of color directed films are there? How many different colored people are running the lights, and how many do we have a female this way? And why is there a woman with catering? Is that sexist? And I mean, it's permeated the entire industry to the point where, as a movie fan, it's fatiguing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen. Very much so. Well, and Disney is making a new Little Mermaid movie, but instead of Ariel being white, she's going to be a person of color. So that appeased a bunch of people, her being a person of color, but then it pissed off a whole other group of people because she represented red-haired people, and there's not a whole lot of movies with red-headed people in the leads. So red-headed people are pissed off that they've race changed Ariel in the new Little Mermaid movie. So you can't win. You're trying to pander to one group of people, but then you alienate another group of people. And when you play that PC SJW game, you're not going to win. You're not going to win.
Well, if you have a problem with it, you're a racist too.
Exactly.
You know what the amazing thing is, though? If you look, the real smart money isn't with stunt casting or following the trends of casting in Hollywood. It is really what Mike said. It's hiring the best person who shows up, but it's beyond that. How about we spend some time, instead of worrying about who we're going to cast in the film, let's get the screenplay right. But not by committee. Let's take a single writer and let's get the best screenplay we can from a single point of view. Put those into production. Because here's the thing. You might get those people through stunt casting to show up on opening weekend, but no one will buy that DVD or buy that stream or bother to click on a link in the future. In 5 years, your movie is going to be nowhere. But if you make a good film with good actors, no matter what they are, you're going to survive. We talk on this show all the time about small, independent exploitation films that are now 30, in some cases 40 years old. And the reason we're still talking about them is there is some quality there. There's something compelling. I'm not seeing that now. It does seem like these active marketing decisions are being made before a frame is shot. And that's the big problem. I could really care less if they recast everyone as a person of color. If the movie is ruled and we're awesome, I wouldn't care if there was no white representation in a film ever again. If I was getting great entertainment every time I put down my money. Period.
But starts with the story,
right?
You know, if you start with shit, you'll end up with shit.
Yeah.
Always.
Right. If you start with bad characters, you'll end up with bad characters. Now look at the original Alien from '79. It was written where the characters did not have a sex assignment. Right. There was no male female. It was casted according to strength of actor. Ripley could have been a man, but they chose Sigourney Weaver to be Ripley, and she knocked it out of the park. I mean, and nobody had a problem with it. Why? Because there was no pressure to do so. It was just, here's a story with these characters. Now cast it the way you think the story will be best represented.
But that's a big part of the problem too, is because the actual quality of the movie is way down the list, because they have to have an agenda. They have to pander to certain groups of people. And you know what? Get woke, go broke. The people they're trying to pander to are not watching their movies. Look at Ghostbusters 2016. Look at Terminator Dark Fate. Look at Batwoman. Look at Superwoman. Look at the Watchmen TV series. They're tanking. Nobody's watching them. The people you're pandering to are not watching your product.
Now look at the downfall of the Star Wars franchise.
Exactly.
We want good stories. We want interesting characters with good stories. We don't give a shit about the other crap that you think we give a shit about. And the people that do give a shit about that shit, like this, I said, they don't care about your movie. Yeah. They don't care about your story.
Yeah, they're tweeting about it and attacking people who say they don't like it or they're not going to watch it, but they're not watching it themselves.
I'm not watching these movies, and I don't care about the new movies coming out because I don't see a good story.
You guys
you want me to see it, you got to give me something.
Yes.
To make me want to see it, and that's go back to good story, interesting characters, the premise, a beginning, a middle, and end, story arc, character starts out and then grows and becomes a different person at the end through the experiences that the story put them through.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basic storytelling, and we don't even get an attempt at that anymore.
Well, you mentioned the Star Wars films. What is Rey's character arc? There is no arc. It's a straight, flat line. She at the beginning, she was the greatest force wielder to ever live, and at the end of this last movie, she's going to be the greatest force wielder who ever lived. She had no diversity. She didn't have to overcome anything. Every obstacle she obliterated. How are we supposed to get behind a character like that? Who thought that was a strong character to lead this new franchise?
And she didn't even get the Luke Skywalker, who started out as a dumb farm boy and ended up as the greatest Jedi ever. He had to earn that shit. Now, if you wanted to do that in female form, I don't give a shit, but give us the story and the character and show us how they earned it.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're missing. When we say we don't like something, they automatically think that we don't like the person, or we don't like the actor, or we don't like the fact that it's a female. No, we don't like your story. But they get defensive, and then they throw that, oh, well, you're racist, you're homophobic, you're this, you're that, you're whatever. Mm-hmm. And attacking the fans, that's a very bad idea. I mean, that's how you lose money.
Well, I mean, again, that was Tim Miller like 6 months ago, attacking Terminator fans 6 months before his movie is even out.
Well, the trailer was garbage. There was nothing in that trailer that made me want to see the film. Yeah. There was no Terminator music. There was no tension. There was no excitement. It was nice to see Linda Hamilton come back because I liked her character, but apparently they didn't really give her much to do or any dialogue worth speaking. And I don't know what that song was or the music that they used in the trailer, but it actually made me not even want to watch the trailer, let alone the movie. and the identity politics does drive me a little bit crazy. If your story is good, though, it's okay. A lot of movies have been propaganda-based movies throughout the years. It's not like a new concept.
Yeah.
Like the China Syndrome, 3 Mile Island, right? I mean, Godzilla was about nuclear bombs. I mean, but they were entertaining films. Give us something entertaining if you have a story to tell or if you have a point of view. I don't know. It's just like it's all about the propaganda, and there is no story to back it up, and that's tiresome.
Yeah.
Was there a reason for the protective Terminator to look like a reject from Backstreet Boys? I don't understand. Why is that necessary? Is it in the story? I mean, if it's a thing, because they're made to blend in, they're made. Is there a certain reason why? Because normally they have a reason for the Terminators to look a certain way or to have certain abilities.
So don't look for a reason in Dark Fate for anything.
And that's the problem.
Man.
Yeah.
And that is the problem right there. And that's why I'm not interested in going to see it, or I'm not even interested in Dr. Sleep or any. I'm really struggling to find reasons to go see movies. I really am.
I got to
And if
see
you were to
Lighthouse though, man.
If you all you
need
like are old films and you don't like any new films, well, I like storytelling, so it's not my fault.
Well, back to the question about the remakes. What if like the original source material, like it was really good, but then the original, representation wasn't good? Like Spawn, in the '90s or whenever that one came out.
Hey,
Like it's not a very good movie, but it's a great comic. So like I'd like for them to try to do that again.
The HBO cartoon,
Yeah.
now that was great. If they were going to make a remake and base it on the cartoon and do something like that, we have the cartoon, but sure, I might be interested in seeing that because I like the cheesy movie from the '90s. I thought it's not good compared to the source material, but
Like Blood Rain, like Uwe Boll made like a bunch of those shitty movies, but I really liked the game.
Go ahead, Obsoletionist. You've got something to say. What do you got to say, man?
Well, no, I mean these guys were on to something, but a movie I wouldn't mind seeing another take on, as well as based on a book, was remember Logan's Run?
Yeah,
I think there's some potential there. There's a story there, I think.
I think I'm just suffering from remake and sequel fatigue.
Yeah.
I want new stories. I want new characters. I'm tired of. I feel like I've seen all that stuff before. Although Logan's Run is a favorite, and that hasn't been rehashed to death.
I was going to say, I mean, that movie is literally as old as me, so I think it's time. It could be introduced to a new audience.
It's not that great, right? I mean, I didn't really care for the movie.
It has its moments.
It's a 70s TV movie. I mean, very low budget, very very cheesy. I watched it on TV when I was a kid. I liked it.
I was with it until the old crazy cat guy. I think that's where the movie just grinds to a halt. Which, what movie, can't survive a crazy cat guy? But I watched it for the first time last week, and I think there's something there, but it would take a lot of work.
And you have to think about, is there enough of an audience that likes the original enough to come out to see it? And some of those movies are what they are, and they're better just left alone.
Yeah, that's true.
I think these studios are just trying to attach to a name. Sorry, I got an echo.
Yeah, we got an echo somewhere.
But they just attach themselves to a name or a property just for recognition, I guess, to the audience. Like, they think that may be like a certain amount of tickets they've already sold. I know what that is, so I'm going to go see that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that comes down to it's all about the opening weekend, right? So they're only going to make movies they think will make enough money to make their budget back in the first week.
Yeah.
And that's going to limit what they greenlight.
So part of this you have to realize is that there's a difference between distribution and production. The productions are made by production companies who rely on money from the distributors up front to get the products made. Sometimes they get outside money and private investment, but that's for smaller productions. The bigger productions, the expensive ones, especially if they're going to license something older, they have to rely on money from the distributors. And the distributors pretty much are going to go with what is an easy sale. Because again, the window for selling a film is its opening weekend. That's 60% of its box office. And the next 3 weeks, which is all it has before it's out of theaters, it's going to see somewhere between a 40 and 60% drop off every week. So they have to utilize their marketing to something that people already are aware of. This is what they feel anyway. So the production companies probably would love to make new material, because who doesn't want to have that next franchise that goes for 20 years?
Yeah.
But where do you come up with the money if not through the distributors?
And the global market is more important than it's ever been. So they also have to keep in mind, well, will this sell to, so-and-so market or that market? The Chinese market has become very popular, so they can't have themes and characters in the films that might upset the Chinese market, or they can't, offend this other market, because they require these other markets to boost the numbers. So they're not really making films for us anymore. They're making films for the global market.
That's right.
And that's what's that saying about you can please some of the people some of the time, but you can please all the people none of the time? I mean, and that's pretty much what's going on right now with films, because it's like, oh, that's a great idea, but it'll never sell in India, or it'll never sell in China,
right?
Or these other markets that they require the money from to get their money back. I think that's a big part of the modern film production business.
Our
it's
buddy,
frustrating because they don't make any money off China anyway. It's like what the take is from the domestic side is like 8% of what's made there. So when you hear about a movie making $100 million in China, 8 came back to the States. So it's all hope that future investment will pay off. It's kind of crazy. It's a crazy situation.
Our buddy Janman Chronicles asks, hello, Piz and crew. Question: what is the movie many or most people love and praise, but you very much dislike or hate? What are there any movies like that for you, Christian?
Piz, that's I don't know, man. I really don't know. I feel like typically like a lot of sequels. I feel like I like a lot more movies that most people don't like. I don't know.
Okay.
I really don't know.
Okay.
Like I'm an Army of Darkness guy. I don't really love Evil Dead or Evil Dead 2, but I love Army of Darkness. Like that weird shit like that. But I wouldn't say it's not awesome. Like I love Sam Raimi. I love that movie he did, Drag Me to Hell, because it was basically Evil Dead. That kind of crazy editing and stuff he does, and everybody talks shit about that movie. But I'm like that. But as far as a big movie that no, and I'm a Rob Zombie guy, but everybody knows that. So, like, I'm on the opposite end of that. I like stuff that most people hate. So,
they say Raimi's going to return to horror.
Yeah. He's directing a script that Damien Shannon and Shannon Swift, the guys who wrote Freddy vs. Jason and the Friday the 13th remake, have written.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Let's see, Stingray, are there any movies that you love that everybody else praises? Or movies that you hate that yeah.
I'm trying to think. I know there are some, but I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Is it okay
I'm
if I
kind of like
drop
Christian.
mine? Oh, okay.
I'll think of something if I can.
Yeah, I'm kind of like Christian. I'm the other way. I like a lot of stuff other people hate.
Okay. What about you, Obsoletionist?
Well, currently, what comes to mind somewhat currently was I hated Endgame. I didn't care for it at all. I thought it was dull, and except for a little action at the end, I didn't get anything out of it. So, but I've kind of cooled on the whole superhero thing. That was kind of my thing a few years ago, but it's just been so oversaturated. I could just do without the whole genre. But yeah, I didn't care for Endgame.
Okay. What about you, Stone?
I was going to say, I might as well go ahead and say it right now. Tomorrow afternoon, I will be seeing Dr. Sleep, despite the fact I'm not a fan of The Shining. I don't hate The Shining, but I'm not a fan of it.
Okay. Mike, Lauren?
Go for it, Mike.
I already know a bunch of lore and stuff.
I'm waiting to hear Lauren. I'm waiting.
Man, I don't know. I wasn't a big. You guys know I've already said most of them on the show. I don't like beating a dead horse. I didn't like the Halloween movie last year. I didn't like a lot of Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy. I didn't like The Last Jedi. There's so many. Prometheus, I hated that. I don't even know if a lot of people like that movie or not. That's just it. I don't really remember how popular some of these things are. Because internet popularity isn't necessarily the same thing as actual popularity. I think people kind of forget that.
Yeah.
Because your average movie person, average person in the world, they go see a movie and the next day they forgot about it and they're on with life. They don't obsess over it like a lot of us do, right? So they either liked it, whatever, moved on, and they don't think about it again. It's not their life, it's just something they did. It's like, they ate a cheeseburger, it was a good cheeseburger, and now today is a new day,
Right.
So, I don't know. There's a lot of crap. I think I've talked about most of it. I'm just
okay. Fair enough.
But I really, yeah.
All right, fair enough. Lauren, I think we probably know a couple of yours just right offhand, but
I love everything that's popular. All of it.
Well, we know how you feel about Aliens. We know how you feel about T2.
Well, I didn't put T2 on my list that I just scrawled. Aliens is the first thing up. I hate Aliens. It's a detestably badly written film that everyone gives way too many passes to. But the second thing I'd say Nightmare on Elm Street 3. It's just as trashy as all the sequels around it. I only like the original in the series. Halloween 2018. I still don't see what everyone else sees. Mike just reminded me that although I don't hate it, the original Star Wars does nothing for me. I do dislike Return of the Jedi quite a lot. Both those are kind of fan favorites out there. But the one that might surprise everyone on the list, Reanimator. Never been able to connect with it. It's kind of impenetrable to me. I'm a huge Lovecraft fan. It kind of feels like the first couple pages of Herbert West Reanimator, and then it goes wildly off the rails and just I thought it's kind of obnoxious and cheap looking. I don't know. Never got it. But I would say everything I mentioned pales to my hatred of Aliens. That would be the big one.
Okay.
Surprise! And now I have no friends.
Yeah, I don't know. There's nothing like I can really think of that I hate that other people love. Oh no.
It's funny. I'm over here looking at my movies, and I'm like, Christian, you're a dumbass. Why would you own it if you don't like it? So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm looking at a list too. I mean, I didn't really like the Babadook. I know people love that one.
Oh, perfect, Jay. That movie was fucking god awful. You talk about the kid from the Shining TV movie. That kid wouldn't shut the hell up.
Yeah, the
and
kid annoyed me.
This being a gay movie, what is gay about the movie? It got a rainbow slipcover, for God's sakes. Somebody enlighten me, please. What's gay about it?
I don't know what's gay about it. That went over my head. If there's,
I didn't know either.
You saw that though, right, Piz? They gave it a rainbow slipcover.
Yeah. I've seen the rainbow slipcover. Yeah.
I actually just watched The Nightingale, her next movie, and that's really good.
That one's
I like that quite a bit.
That one's on my list.
It's not really a horror movie, but it's on Hulu.
Yeah, I've heard it's not really a horror movie, but I do want to check it out.
I saw it in theaters. I give it a huge thumbs up. It's terrific.
Oh, cool.
Terrific movie, but very sad. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Probably for me, and I've mentioned it on the show before, but it would have to be The Sixth Sense. I really hated that movie. I saw it in the theater. And I hated it, and I walked out of the theater literally laughing at it, and I turned around and looked back at the people walking out behind me, and most of them were crying. And I thought it wasn't that bad, but they were touched by it. And even like my two buddies that I went to the movie with, I was like, God, that movie sucks. And one of them was like, No, it doesn't. No, it don't. So I hated that movie. I feel like the rest of the world caught up with me a few movies later that M. Night Shyamalan is a hack and a boob. But I hated The Sixth Sense.
I somewhat agree with you, Piz, and I'm sure you would agree with me that Stir of Echoes, which came out a month later, redeemed it.
I thought I preferred Stir of Echoes. Yes.
Love Stir of Echoes. Yes.
Yes.
Hey, that reminds me. There's another one I want to add to my list, just because there's one guy out there in the chat that probably still likes me a little bit, and I can fix that. E.T. Loathe E.T. Hated it as a kid. Wanted to walk out of the theater. My grandmother and my sister wouldn't let me.
Wow.
I can see that. I can definitely see that.
So syrupy, saccharine nonsense.
Let's see. Jan Man says the gayness of the Babadook has nothing to do with the movie, but a mistake on Netflix mislabeling it.
I'm looking at an article right now about it. Apparently, it was just like a joke on Tumblr. Somebody said the monster was gay, like the Babadook monster.
Okay.
That's funny if that's the case.
And then it just kind of took off and went viral or whatever.
Okay, Piz, I'll be honest with you. Maybe I'm being too hard because I ain't no critic. In my reviews, I use words like cool and badass. I don't pretend to be something I'm not. But people were like, "Oh my god, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen," and I go into everything really optimistic, which is really probably bad. And I was like, I didn't like it. It was kind of shitty. Like to me, it was like not good. And my wife was just like, this sucked. And I remember we watched Clown like a day later because you were like, this movie's on YouTube. Hurry up and check it out. And we loved Clown.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That movie kicked my ass. But I was like, and nobody was talking about that. But Babadook, like what the hell? Stupid ass movie.
Yeah. Clown is really good. I like Clown. Geez, let's talk about does anybody want to see a Joker sequel? I loved Joker. I know it's on its way to making $1 billion. It's going to be the first, R-rated movie to make $1 billion or whatever. But a sequel?
I haven't seen the original yet, so I can't answer that question. I'm going to watch it, but I haven't seen it yet.
I like it. I'd much rather him pick a different villain to do the same kind of serious treatment of.
Yeah, that's what I said. Instead of doing a sequel, let's bring another DC character to the screen with the same kind of exactly and filmmaking acumen, and not this like Justice League, Batman v Superman, half-hearted crap. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you're saying you want a Penguin movie and a Mr. Freeze movie?
No. I just mean like let's do the Batman with that kind of intensity.
Wait a second. Okay. You Stone, you're joking, but I'm going to tell you that you could write an awesome Mr. Freeze movie with the same intensity as a Joker, because there's nothing about the material that has to be what it's been before. The thing that Joker did so well is it said, screw tradition. We're making something cohesive and powerful.
Okay.
Good writers could do any of these projects. I just don't think if you start from we have to satisfy an existing audience, you're always starting with one hand tied behind your back.
Yeah.
Let writers write.
Well, one thing that I loved about Joker was Joker didn't have to fit. They kind of fit it. It didn't need anything to do with the Waynes. It didn't need anything to do with Gotham City. It could have just been a guy who was mentally unstable, who was called a Joker, and says, okay, I'm a Joker then. I'm going to paint my face up and I'm going to create chaos. And it could have been completely outside of the world of DC Comics. And it would have been perfectly fine. And even though there are some, it takes place in Gotham. You've got, Thomas Wayne in the film and a young Bruce Wayne. But again, it's like Lauren said, it was really well written. It was intense. It was well made. Joaquin Phoenix's performance is fantastic. Bring that kind of intensity and filmmaking acumen to another DC property, whatever it is. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I think I don't know a lot about the origins of some of these characters, but the Mr. Freeze thing, I think that could be done from It's basically at its core, you could make it like a dark love story about somebody losing their mind trying to save the life of a loved one. These types of stories will sell, and if you write it right, it will be entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Take away don't think about the Arnold Schwarzenegger version of Mr. Freeze. Make it a reality, a believable story with real people in it.
Jokerize it, basically.
Well, they're talking about in like this new Joker movie, they're going to have the Riddler and Penguin, and like the Penguin's maybe going to be played by like Colin Farrell. I think that's
Kevin Hart in there.
For a second, I thought you were about to say Colin Firth.
But I don't know.
Joker almost seems like an overcorrection to me for DC. Like, no one was taking them serious anymore, so they just let a guy who was going to take it as serious as humanly possible get there. It might end up being an island into itself. It might be the only piece that really works this way. I'm already hearing that Wonder Woman 84 is going to be a lot lighter of a movie than the first in its series.
I've heard it's not gotten very good test screenings.
These things. So the one thing is Warner Brothers doesn't hold test screenings quite like a lot of other studios. They go out into the wild and grab people from malls and whatnot and give them passes. So it's not quite as insular. So they tend to project a little bit more accurately and be able to change for the better. Sometimes they overreact too. I mean, these are people who will refilm an entire film.
Right.
But it'll be very interesting to see what happens. It's just like other distributors literally almost stack the house with people who are going to like a film. And Warner at least doesn't do that. When they get hard criticism, at least it's honest. Sometimes when you hear about great test screenings, it's bad news because they basically put their friends in the room.
Mm-hmm. Now, Bon Jovi is a band that I was never a big fan of. But they did some smart things when they were putting out their records. They had what they call the pizza parlor jury. What they would do is that they would gather up their fans and take them to a pizza parlor and have them listen to the new demos to gauge their reaction. And then they would build their albums around the reaction of the people they knew would be interested in buying their product. And they were wildly successful with that formula.
Man, Bon Jovi and pizza? Man, that sounds awesome.
If you cater your product to the actual people that want to see it, you might make something that you make money off of. Now, like I said, I'm not a fan of Bon Jovi, so that wouldn't work for a wide audience, but at least you would have a better understanding of your core.
I don't think you can get more Jersey than Bon Jovi and pizza places.
Here's a great question from Barbecue Network. Jay, what pizza demo would you most want?
Pepperoni.
But what band's demo do you want to be listening to while you're eating that pepperoni pizza?
Oh man, Pantera.
Oh, good one. Cameron's joined us. Cameron, what's up, man?
Not much. Just wanted to come on for at least a little bit and just say hi to you guys.
How's it going, man?
Good. Busy. It's like my advice is don't have kids until you're ready to have kids.
Unfortunately, you're never ready. So
that's true. Yeah. That's true. But I waited very late in life. I was over 40. So
how was your Halloween?
Good. We don't get any trick-or-treaters here, so I found that out the hard way one year when I got all this candy and then no one came, so I had to eat it all apparently. So I guess in retrospect I could have taken it back, but I didn't. So it's okay. I mean, Halloween's good. I always have these. I think I saw Jay's tweet about this. Like, I always have these like huge aspirations for like. 'Cause I see these people on YouTube doing the 31 horror movies of the month or whatever. My God, I wish I had the time to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I don't, I wish I had that kind of time too, but yeah, I think I got through maybe, I mean, I had a big list and I think I got through maybe a quarter of it and that was it.
Most people end up failing around like the 20 mark. They just stop. It just kills them.
I would have failed after the 3-day mark.
Yeah.
I would, yeah.
I stopped trying, man. because I failed every time.
I think people should just record those over the summer and then just put them up in October.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I love seeing all your guys' pictures and seeing all the outfits and stuff, like seeing you and Jeremy, like you did like this retrospective, like of all your old costumes and stuff like that, like really cool stuff. Like I wish I knew people around me that like did that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, thank goodness for Facebook Memories, because it brought back a lot of memories. So.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, good stuff. Let's see.
Did you guys talk about the Scream Factory? Like the Fly collection looks amazing, and the April Fool's Day, of course, is coming out. So we
talked about My Bloody Valentine and April Fool's Day. We didn't touch on the Fly collection though, but that one does look good.
I was really happy to see all the Fox like extras being carted over, because that was the big factor of whether or not I was going to get it or not. So, but I wanted to ask Lauren, because I know he was curious about some of the like the Curse of the Fly. Are you excited by what you see in this box set for the extras and stuff?
I want it. I'm not a big fan of the price point, but I want it. So we'll see what I do.
Isn't it like $50 on Amazon right now?
I thought it was 60, but
60 something. I pre-ordered that.
My problem is I own most of the movies, and I only upgrade when there's significant reasons to do so. But I do want it. It does look like a substantial package, but we'll see. I mean, if there's a way to get it cheaper a little bit later, I'll probably do it.
Mm-hmm.
I do want it. The original trilogy is that's DNA films for me.
Well, I know earlier you were asking me about Black Friday. I have to find that list, but Target is completely a bust this year, and Best Buy has like 4Ks from $7.99 to $12, and I have like 20 on a list that I need to get now. You'll never get me to try a movie quicker than put it on sale on Black Friday.
Exactly. Well, I did pick this up, which this will be a spoiler for my next mail day video with Jeremy, but I did pick up the Best Buy exclusive Shining 4K Steelbook. So gorgeous, I'm looking forward to checking that out on 4K.
What I really like about that Steelbook is it perfectly matches the Room 237 Blu-ray case. So it can go together really well. So, but.
Oh goodness. Let's see. What do you guys think about James Dean, who will be reborn in all CGI for an upcoming Vietnam War movie?
Are we talking about James Dean, the 1950s star, or James Dean, the current porn star?
The long dead.
I don't care then. Who cares?
Here's my problem with it, because I know they've been wanting to do sort of like bringing back the dead celebrities in movies for a while. The problem is that James Dean, of all people, was a highly improvisational actor. You cannot program a computer to make spontaneous actor decisions like him. Maybe if you were doing Sandra Bullock, who was like, more predictable of a performer, sure. But James Dean was wild on the set. And it's like, it would be like doing a CGI Dennis Hopper. You wouldn't be able to, if you were to try to do the last movie in CGI, you can't do it, because you can't predict what these people were going to do on set at any time. It also says the movie has nothing going for it. Apparently, if they have to, we don't even know what the movie's title is, what the story is. We just know James Dean's in it. So.
I just think it's incredibly creepy and just poor taste to I mean, like when they brought back Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One, I was kind of like but that was okay because he was just kind of in and out. But I mean, what next? Are we going to get Marilyn Monroe in the next
So
the dead are dead.
Yeah,
let them rest.
Well, are they? I mean, Ronnie James Dio's hologram has been touring for 3 years.
Well, I mean, I'm not buying tickets to it,
But people are.
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's just another way to try and get butts in seats. And if people show up, they'll do it.
Yeah, I hear that Tupac hologram has been going around too. So
this is for Tupac.
The Tarkin thing I get, because you really could not have told that story without his character, but they could have cast another actor.
Yeah.
He could have.
But that character had to be in there. So.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it. Barbecue Network asked, does Jeremy like any sports? No, he doesn't really like sports, although he used to be big into the Special Olympics. He was a runner. He's a good runner. He's a really good runner. Little Jeremy story here. His very first Special Olympics, he was participating in the 50-yard dash. So I went with him, and before anything started, I said, okay, so here's where you're going to start, and right down there's where you're going to end. So run as fast as you can from here to that point there. He was like, yes. So we get there the day of the thing, and I remind him, you're going to run down there to those people. There was like a group of like high school football players at the end of the thing to like stop people. So the guy fires the gun. Jeremy takes off running as fast as he can. He runs right through the football players, and is going to run completely around the track with me running after him, going, Jeremy, stop, Jeremy. And finally, like a couple of the football player guys ran and like got him and stopped him, and I was like, dude, yeah, he blasted through the football players and was going to go all the way around the track. And I don't know if he would have stopped even once he got all the way around. He was just dedication, man. He was that was funny.
Yeah, I once worked with an African American girl in high school that was she was autistic, and she was on the water polo team, and her parents told her, I saw them, get the ball, go through the people to the goal. And she just repeated to them, like almost like a robot back to them. Yes, I understand. And she just conquered them. She just got the ball, ran through the people, got the goal. And it's amazing. It's amazing when if you put all your mind focus on something, what you can do.
Yeah, jeez. Resurrection Reviews, our buddy Steven is here tonight. Hope you're doing well, Steven. Let's see. I think that was all that I had down here to talk about. So let's see what other questions we've got from our viewers. Southpaw82 wants to know, well, he says his most anticipated film of 2020 is Godzilla versus King Kong. Do you guys have any movies coming out next year that you're looking forward to?
I have the entire release schedule for the horror genre for next year.
Ooh, go ahead and read those off.
All right. So I'm beginning now. This takes us through these year. This is only the confirmed releases, so stuff will get added. But of course, November 8th is the official launch of Dr. Sleep, although it began tonight with previews. On the 13th of December, we have Black Christmas. Can everyone groan?
Can't wait for that one.
Yep.
Sleigh bells? Is that the tagline?
January 3rd, we have The Grudge again.
Pass. Yay.
January 10th, we have Underwater, which is basically Deep Star 6 again. On January 24th, we have The Turning, which of course is just a retelling of Henry James' Turn of the Screw again. On the 31st, we have Gretel and Hansel. I did see a trailer for that.
Cool.
I think so too. I'm hoping the trailer really represents the film, though.
Why did they put the girl's name first?
Do you really have to ask that question?
Oh my god!
Flip the script, brother.
I thought Lauren just said it backwards for a second, and I was like, "Wait a minute."
I think it looks good though. On February 7th, we have The Lodge, which I know virtually nothing about. February 21st, we have Brahms, The Boy Part 2. I've never seen the original of that. On the February 28th, we have The Invisible Man, which is Lee Winnell's not remake of the Invisible Man, because from the trailer that launched today, it has nothing to do with any previous version.
Did you guys see the trailer? Any thoughts on the trailer?
It looks interesting. I'll definitely go watch it.
Yeah.
Then on March 13th, we have Godzilla vs. Kong. That feels so soon for how big a project that is, but that's when it's slated to come out. Yeah. On March 15th, we have an Untitled Blumhouse release, which has not officially been named, but I'm hearing it's a Paranormal Activity film. On March 20th, we have Quiet Place 2. I included this next one, which I probably shouldn't, but it's being listed as a horror film, so I did. And April 3rd, we're still seeing New Mutants as being released. I don't think it's going to be released, and I don't think it's going to be a horror film. On May 15th, we have Saw, which apparently is the full title of the film.
Okay.
I'm going to go see that. I'm a Saw mark.
So am I. I'm always annoyed when they just repeat titles, though. On June 12th, we have The Candyman, which I understand they are in the article. And I hear awful things about.
They should have just called The Forbidden.
Oh my god! Thank you.
It's based on the Clive Barker.
It's not.
Oh.
It's based on Starbucks. You'll understand when you see the film. Not a joke. July 10th, we have a new Purge film, which as of yet does not have a title.
Okay, cool.
I understand dovetails into the television series somehow. Like, you almost need to see both, which is troublesome to me because I haven't watched any of the TV series. The same day, we have the new Ghostbusters.
Maybe.
Which, again, is a sequel that's, again, not using any kind of title to differentiate. Then on August 14th, we have Escape Room 2 and Malignant, which is the new James Wan film, which is based apparently on a graphic novel he wrote. On September 4th, we have Monster Hunter, which is Mila Jojovich's attempt to get back into the kind of action horror thing with a new franchise. We'll see if it works. On September 11th, we have The Conjuring Part 3, which the big news, I guess, on that is it's not based on a case. It's an original story. So depending whether you like your fiction based on an old lie or a new one. And then on October 16th, the last horror film of the year that's scheduled to come out is the film called Halloween Kills that I will not be going to see.
No way.
I'm not going to do it.
It's going to end on a cliffhanger, right?
What about that Texas? Wasn't somebody making a Texas Chainsaw Massacre again?
It's not scheduled yet.
Okay.
But there is so all told, just in the genre, we're looking at 22 horror films between now and the end of 2020, theatrically.
Call me a sheep. I want to go see that Grudge movie, man, because I don't really have any history with those movies. I don't care if it's a jump scare movie. They're fun the first time because you don't know when the jump scares are coming. That's why I like going to see Paranormal Activities in the theater. I'm not going to say it's award-winning cinema, but I don't care. I'm not an award-winning type of guy, you know?
I love the original Ju-On films, the first two Ju-On films.
Yeah.
The American Grudge films, not as much, but yeah, I'll end up in the theater.
You know, what the hell? I mean...
As far as Japanese horror goes, you can do a lot better than The Grudge.
Well, you can, but I think the first two Ju-On films are not bad.
Yeah. They're not ones I'm going to go revisit.
I got a bad feeling about that new Purge, though. You want to talk about a agenda film? Good Lord, just wait. I have a bad feeling about that.
I haven't seen any of the Purge films, and I don't see a reason to start now.
I don't think they're bad.
Yeah, I like the second and third film a lot.
Yeah, the
I
first...
didn't say they were bad. I said I hadn't seen them.
Movie Man 95. I think that may have answered your question about our thoughts on the Black Christmas trailers. Has there been more than one? Because the first one was god awful.
That's all you need. It tells you everything about the movie.
Yeah, that pretty much told you the entire movie, and it looked god awful. God awful.
We know who the killer is, man. I love that when I go into a slasher.
We just had a god awful remake not that long ago. It seems like maybe it was long ago, but
you're going to be filled with nostalgia for that remake by the time this thing's done.
I'm sure. Yeah.
No, because I'm not going to see it.
Let's see. Adam, the motion picture history horror fan, asks, what are some of your favorite theatrical release posters in horror, and what would be some of your favorite original motion picture soundtracks in horror?
Posters.
Go, Christian.
I'm staring at one right now, and that's for The Mutilator. Love the Mutilator poster. Maniac, the 1980 Maniac, has an awesome poster.
You like that bulge on him, Piz?
Exactly.
Well, chopping mall. I remember that in the video.
Yeah,
that's a good one. That's a great one.
I
think
like going for scanners.
I think the original Nightmare on Elm Street poster is really cool too.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to think back of the 80s. Like, what?
What was that, Christian?
Return of the Living Dead. It's the centerpiece in my horror room. It's my favorite film ever. It's my favorite. A movie has never been able to describe my personality quite like that film, because I'm a punk guy. I just fucking love that movie, and I think that poster perfectly represents. It's abstract. It's metaphor-ish. I like metaphor posters where the picture represents the movie in a non-literal way, where it's not just like a bunch of people from the movie on the front. The cartoon look of that, some way, it still perfectly symbolizes what that movie is. Kind of like the way like Jason Takes Manhattan. Like the poster, I'm not talking about the film, but the poster is like a metaphor, right? Like it's Jason over the city. I love that kind of stuff, and I think that Return of the Living Dead does that in the same way. But I love the movie, my favorite movie, and Nightmare on Elm Street. I got that too.
Part 2 has a great poster also.
Yeah.
Gosh, so many great posters back then. I mean, even like for movies aren't very good. I mean, Creepshow 2, I loved. I mean, seeing that video box of Creepshow 2 in the video store.
Oh, it's gorgeous, man.
Like just that. There's so many good ones because, like, I mean, the thing about horror films is that many of us rented some of our favorite movies just based off the video art.
Damn right, man. Damn right.
Rent a lot of stinkers too.
It's like a lost art.
Right, but you could sell a stinker with great artwork.
Yeah.
Yes, they did. They fooled me quite a bit.
I mean, I spit on your grave. Is there anything more iconic than that?
Especially when Demi Moore is the one that posed on the poster.
I was looking
That's right.
I was looking for my bootleg of the Spookies, but I can't find it. That was a great artwork for that poster.
The House by the Cemetery artwork was always my absolute favorite because it perfectly encapsulates what the genre is to me. It's dark. It feels moody. It feels a little bit dangerous. It's just everything. When you're a 13-year-old in a video store that you want is on that poster.
Yeah.
About New York Ripper. It's a great one.
What do you need?
I think my favorite soundtrack of all time. It's not really a horror movie soundtrack, but it's The Crow. I think The Crow is the ultimate soundtrack. It's so eclectic because you've got alternative, you've got metal, you've got industrial, you've got goth, all of them together, and they all fit perfectly on this soundtrack.
Yeah.
And
we're talking soundtrack. Are we talking a collection of popular songs or
movie scores?
Music from the movie?
Movie soundtracks.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
I gotta go with Phantasm or Suspiria, man. I think Phantasm. I really love that Phantasm theme a lot.
I'd have to go with Jerry Goldsmith's score for Poltergeist.
Okay.
That got under my skin, man.
That and The Omen.
Yes, The Omen, of course, yes.
That's why I have my Omen Laserdisc still, because she has an isolated music track. So, Lord knows what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. So, I mean, my favorite score of any film, and it's funny because I just actually used it for my Halloween video that I put out on Twitter, is the score to the Toolbox Murders. Completely overlooked. Beautiful. It is an amazing score. It's way better than the film in many ways. But if you haven't heard that, you can find just the opening theme on YouTube. You're going to fall in love. I love the theme, the music from The Haunting of Julia. I love, of course, Manfredini's original Friday the 13th score in its original format. After he stopped recycling and started kind of re-recording, it kind of got bad fast.
I mean, cliche alert, but is there anything more beautiful than the opening to Cannibal Holocaust?
Wizard of Lottie. Yeah, I mean, hey, I have the vinyl of that soundtrack.
Are we talking score or soundtrack as a whole?
Either one. Either one's fine.
Oh man, I love the score of the Terminator films.
Hell yeah, dude.
So many. Nightmare on Elm Street has a great score.
Well, the Crow has a great soundtrack and a great score. So I mean, I'd throw that out there too.
There's a couple of posters behind Piz there. Halloween and of course Dawn of the Dead. Two great soundtracks and posters.
Probably
my eyes were immediately drawn to those, and I had two others, which the score and the poster would be The Exorcist and Alien.
Yeah.
Probably the most. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say the whole Exorcist score, not just Tubular Bells. All of it is amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was going to say probably the most epic horror music that I've heard of that is more epic than what the budgets could do is Hellraiser 1 and 2. I mean, those scores are so epic.
Dude, no bullshit. No bullshit.
I mean, like, seriously, you even just put those on YouTube and listen. It's like, oh my God, like that movie should have $100 million budget with that kind of score.
You know? Dude, we could do an entire show on scores. Like, I love them so much. Like, Gremlins has got a great score.
Yeah, Jerry Goldsmith again. Yeah.
The problem is we can't do samples with YouTube.
Don't give them all away. That might be an upcoming show. Our favorite movie scores.
I'm just gonna add use of Penderecki in The Shining. Just unbelievable.
And I know the movie gets a ton of shit, but Flowers in the Attic, the score is incredible.
Why does that movie get shit?
Well, and this is a good segue
into. That's why.
Well, this is a good segue. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Stone. No, go ahead, Stone.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say that I'm very much a connoisseur of music scores. I'm just going to throw it out there now. My absolute favorite music score of all time, and it will be till the day I die, is the one for the original Conan the Barbarian by Basil Polidorus. That will always be my number one film score.
Let me tell you a story of high adventure.
Well, this is a good segue into Resurrection Reviews question for us.
What?
What? Oh, okay, that's okay. This is a good segue into Resurrection Reviews question for us. What are your guys' favorite bands?
Oh,
that's a tough question.
Give me a sec. Yeah.
I mean, I'll go if nobody else is going to say
go.
I mean, Arcade Fire, Panic at the Disco,
My Chemical Romance.
Hey, come on, Biz. That's my generation.
Hey, how about Oingo Boingo? Okay, I'll just throw that one out.
Oh my God! Okay, this is unrelated, but the episode of American Horror Story where Richard Ramirez kills what was that band? Oh my God! I can't. Somebody help me here. Who's watching American Horror Story?
Yeah.
It wasn't Oingo Boingo, was it? It was.
Is it? Does the band sound like that? Was it like Bang Tango?
It's Australian, right? The band's Australian.
Chumba. Was it Chumba? No.
It was,
Congo Bongo?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Chumbawamba, did they get knocked down, but did they get back up again?
It wasn't them. It cracked me up. It cracked me up because like he killed the whole band. He killed like the entire tour bus.
That show has been like my shit for this Halloween season, man. I love that show right now.
It's really gone in some directions I did not see it going, but I'm digging it. I'm digging it big time. I'm gonna have to look this up and see what this band, because I can't believe I forgot. They were right on the tip of my tongue. Anybody else favorite bands?
I got a few off the top of my head. AC/DC, especially the Bon Scott years, but Back in Black I consider to be one of the greatest classic rock records of all time, even though it's Brian Johnson. But I prefer the Bon Scott years. The Ramones. I dig the Misfits. I'm not a purist. I like the Danzig years, but I also appreciate the Graves years. Mastodon, Metallica, the big four. Although of the big four, Anthrax was the first one I heard. Fistful of Metal, I still like that album. It's cheesy as hell, but it's got some great guitar work on it, and I was listening to it the other night. Of course, Megadeth and Testament and the Bay Area thrash scene. I'm also a fan of quite a few of the LA glam bands of the 80s. I like Motley Crue and Rat and Wasp and a lot of that kind of stuff until it got, a parody of itself toward the end of the 80s. Then it just got ridiculous. I like Dawkins, Ozzy, of course, Black Sabbath. I liked Kiss from like 74 to 78. I think Love Gun was probably when I got off the Kiss train. They had Creatures of the Night was okay, but really, after Love Gun, I don't really care about Kiss anymore. It's just so many. I mean, I like Avenged Sevenfold. I thought City of Evil was a great record. I like Guns N' Roses. I like Slash with Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators or whatever it's called. I hate that when they do that, when they have like so many marquee people that they have like a name that's 14 feet long, where everybody has to have it's like Slash featuring Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators. You just come up with a name. I guess they want to sell the tickets, but anyway, I like World on Fire, I think the name of it. That's a really good record by them. But I like a lot of punk music, a lot of metal, a lot of classic rock, blues. I don't know, a lot of guitar-based stuff. My son's turning me on to a lot of a different kind of music that I'm enjoying for different reasons. He likes vaporwave and retro wave and slasher wave and dark wave synth stuff.
Cool.
And some of it's pretty energetic and it's actually quite entertaining. And I find if I'm on a long drive and I'm listening to that kind of stuff, it's really good for that. So I don't know, I'm kind of all over the place anymore. When I was younger, I was way more conservative as far as what my boundaries were with music, but now that I'm older, I just don't give a shit. Except I still, as much as I respect jazz, I still can't listen to it. And my most hated, besides, I'm not a big fan of polka either, but I'd say the one genre that I still can't really stand is country. So
I was gonna say you're a big ska fan, right, Mike?
No, and I'm not a big. Ska's a ripoff of the Jamaican music. I can't think of that one. Reggae. I'm not a big fan of that either. I mean, it's okay, but it's like a one-note thing. It's like the quick, downstroke type stuff. And I like Rancid, but they got a little too ska-y for me. I like the first Rancid record and Let's Go, and Out Come the Wolves is pretty good, but then they got a little bit too bouncy for me after that.
I can see it now. I liked Rancid until they became too Jamaican.
Too ska, because ska is not really a Jamaican. To me, it's more of a ripoff of Jamaican music.
Roland's, hold on a second. Roland 666 to the rescue. Kaja Goo Goo was the band that Richard Ramirez killed.
I couldn't have told you that to save my life.
Oh my god, that was so funny.
And if I could have told you that, I would have wanted to kick my own ass.
If you would have told me the song name, I could do it.
Kaja Goo Goo.
Hey, Mike, did you ever watch that Motley Crue movie on Netflix?
No, I haven't. It just doesn't look.
I thought it was good.
I read the
book. You're making a kick out of it.
I read the book, right? And I don't know. It just seems kind of a cherry pick version of the book. And I lived through that era, so I read the magazines and I'm kind of up on the stories, and I read the book, and I just don't really. And out of all those type of bands, I think they've kind of fallen out of my favor more than any of the other ones. And when it comes to Motley Crue, I'm pretty much down to live the first record, Too Fast for Love, and Shout at the Devil, and then everything else is pretty much I don't care about.
Yeah, just Too Fast.
What about that album with that other guy in '94? Did you remember? Did you listen to that when it came out? Were you like, "This is terrible"? Because I kind of like that album, man.
It's a completely different record. I don't even consider it to be Motley Crue. It's like their Halloween 3. It's like their Halloween 3. It stands alone on its own, and I like it for what it is, but I don't consider it to be Motley Crue.
I thought that vocalist was badass on that record, man.
Now, he was in a band recently, the Dead Daisies. He's not in it anymore, but he did 2 records with the Dead Daisies that I really like.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite bands, Christian? Go for it, man.
I tell you this, man. I don't go a week without listening to 3 bands for sure. 3 or 4. Blue Oyster Cult, diehard Blue Oyster Cult fan. Julian Cope is one of my favorite just people on the planet. I love Alice Cooper. But you see, I'm forever changing. I'm becoming addicted to Morrissey. I used to listen to nothing but like Megadeth and metal, but the older I've gotten, I've become obsessed with that new wave kind of world, and I'm really digging into that. My wife would say, like, Christian, listen to Morrissey, you'd like them. Listen to the Smiths, you like them. And I would say, I don't want to. Like, I can't have her tell me to listen to a band. I have to find them on my own, which I think a lot of us are like. You know, it's like you don't trust anybody. But then you finally say, okay, what is this Every Day Is Like Sunday song? And you listen to it. I'm like, oh my God, how have I lived without hearing this song? So I get addicted to new stuff like that. But Julian Cope is probably the one band besides Bush Cult that I've consistently just keep listening to and I never get tired of. And Motorhead, I love Motorhead. I really do. And I'm not talking Ace of Spades. Like, I really love Another Perfect Day and Overkill and the 77 album and Snake Bite Love and all that. I love Motorhead, man. So bluesy, but people got to listen to him to realize that.
I can't believe I left out Motorhead and Eddie Clark's band Fastway. I really like them too. Their first couple of records are really good. Yeah, Motorhead is definitely classic.
And I tell you, there's another album I love, and this is strange, but I always enjoy jamming this David Lee Roth album. It was with 91. I forgot the guitar player had, but I love the album. It's basically, damn it, what is the name of that album?
It's not Skyscraper, is it?
No. It was 91. It's a picture of like this demon, like I forgot what it was, but he had a guitar player that was phenomenal. And then now he's still alive, but he's basically like a vegetable.
ALS. I can't believe I can't remember his name. Jason Becker.
That album that album is so fun. I remember David basically made that album because Aerosmith got really popular using horns and stuff in their music. So David was trying to jump on that train. The album's fantastic. But I don't know
how good Jason Becker is. He did a record with Marty Friedman called Cacophony.
There was
a label in the 80s called Shrapnel, where all the shredders were, all the guys that could play like Paul Gilbert and all those dudes, put out instrumental records, and they were all just, better than anybody else could ever do. I mean, these guys were just amazing, and he was one of those guys.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll add is, it's funny, the band I'm in, they all make fun of me because I do love a lot of 80s hair metal, and they all think it's so stupid. And they all say it's got no heart and soul. I'm like, no, you got to really dig into some of this stuff. There's some really good shit. Like, I'm a big fan of that first Vinnie Vincent Invasion album. I just think that album is such a kick in the ass. I love that singer Fleischman. Guy was insane. I mean, he had no nuts, apparently, because he could sing so high. But Vinnie was a goddamn monster on that guitar. Jesus Christ. And nobody talks about him anymore. I love Vinnie Vincent Invasion. I like Slaughter, too. I don't know, but I like a lot of those bands. A lot of weird bands like Shark Island and Taiketo. A lot of those bands that really never broke out because it was the last wave of hair metal. I love that shit too.
I saw Shark Island open up for LA Guns on their what was their Cocked and Loaded tour. That was probably their biggest record. I like LA Guns.
Yeah, LA Guns too, man. They actually put out a record not long ago that I was like, damn, this is awesome. I liked it a lot. So I like a lot of that 80s hair stuff. To me, there's a lot of really badass bands that, and I learned about Fastway from Trick or Treat, and I really like Fastway. I've been listening to they had like 3 pretty decent sized records, but I don't think they ever. It's like I'm assuming they never broke mainstream because number one, they were on the movie Trick or Treat, and number two, I don't know. I never really heard about them until that I found the movie. So
I saw them open up for. Well, the reason they were called Fastway is because they had Fast Eddie Clark and from Motorhead, and they had Pete Way, the bass player for UFO.
Right, Lauren was telling me about the
originally, and they opened for AC/DC on their Flick of the Switch tour. That's the first time I had ever heard of them. Back then, you see a good opening band, you go and buy the record the next day. Yeah. And I've been a fan of them ever since. So I knew who they were before Trick or Treat. And I could throw Trick or Treat soundtrack on my favorite soundtracks because
hell yeah, man. And the last guy I love is Iggy fucking Pop. I just think he's a bad son of a bitch, man. Brick by Brick's one of my favorite albums I've ever heard. I love it.
What are some of your favorite?
I'll leave it at that.
Who are some of your favorite bands, Stingray?
Oh man, I don't even know if I can follow that. I'm all over the place. I like all types of music. I'm not a big fan of scat or polka either, as Mike mentioned. But I like a lot of stuff. I do like some country. I like a lot of hip hop. like Pantera is probably my favorite band, and then I like Tool a lot. I like the Smiths. I don't know. I like all kinds of stuff, man. I always tell people to keep an open mind. Because like when I was in high school, I was like metal. That's all I'm going to listen to is metal. And I stuck to that, and it really, I missed out on a lot of good stuff. And I just like a lot of different types of music.
He's secretly jamming out to the Love Shack. He just doesn't want us to know.
I'm gonna skip over Lauren because we all know who his favorite band is, and that's Limp Bizkit. Obsoletionist, what are some of your favorite bands, man?
Well, I think I could break it down to AC/DC, the Dirty Deeds album. That's probably my favorite. And then there's Weezer. I've always been a big Weezer fan, and Pinkerton album I really enjoyed. And then I guess my favorite band of all time would have to be the Beastie Boys. License to Ill's my favorite album ever. It hits me in the nostalgia, and I can still listen to it right now. Love about every song on
there. Stone, Cameron, do you want to share with us some of your favorite bands?
Oh God, I'm probably gonna get ridiculed on this podcast. Actually, I still think to this day my favorite band, just because it was when I grew up. I mean, they weren't around; they'd already been broken up. But my family listened to all the time was the Beatles, and the reason why they're my favorite is because the band more or less existed for about 7 years, and in that 7 years, they pretty much did the entire trajectory of most bands in 30. So, I mean, you look at them in Sgt. Pepper in '67. And look at them, Meet the Beatles in '64. You can't even believe they're the same people.
Were they very popular? I don't think I've ever heard of them before.
Really? The Beatles? Yeah.
Well, if you had a list, if you asked me, say, what's the band that everybody loves that you hate, Mike? It would be the Beatles.
I figured as much. That's why I didn't. That's why I didn't say anything.
But hey, everybody loves them, so enjoy.
Yeah, but I also love the fact that the movies they put out are pretty good, and they still hold up. I don't know. I feel like you actually see a band actually mature, and usually when bands mature, you either like their early work, you like their later work, but they're pretty consistent, even though they changed. That like the quality of their work was still really good all the way through. So. But I know it's nothing compared to Dawkins. I'm sorry. So.
break these chains, baby. What about you, Stein?
Well, I didn't see George Harrison shredding like George Lynch. That's all I'm going to say.
It's true.
I'm a Dream Warrior. I don't know about you guys.
Tooth and Nail's the best Dawkins record to me, man.
Agreed. That is their greatest achievement.
What about you, Stone?
I guess I'm about as eclectic as everybody else. I mean, I honestly, when I was growing up, 90% of my time was watching movies, and 10% or less was, seeking out bands and going. I've only been to 7 concerts in my life, and I'll reveal to you who I went to see: Red Hot Chili Peppers in Hyde Park, London. Ep06 in Tokyo, Japan.
Wow.
Also, I don't think they were in Tokyo, but I did see The Offspring. I did see The Offspring. REO Speedwagon and Heart. And my mother may have dragged me to a Neil Diamond concert when I was 3 or 4 years old, and that would probably be the worst of the lot. But I don't know. Most of my music has been heard through movie soundtracks. So I would listen to a lot of random stuff, and a lot of it I enjoyed. I mean, but I'm also a huge fan of Broadway musicals. I grew up around the theater, so I tend to get into musicals every now and then, movie musicals as well. But I'll listen to pretty much anything. Can't explain that, but I just, I'm pretty open-minded when it comes to music. But I don't know what else to say.
No, that's cool. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I think we're all pretty eclectic when it comes to what music we're into.
Yeah.
And I'm the same way. I mean, I love Pantera, but I also love The Cure. You know what I mean? I love Blue Oyster Cult, which I'm glad there's so much love for Blue Oyster Cult here tonight.
Shit, I got them tattooed on me, Piz. For life, baby.
Some enchanted
By the way-
evening.
For life.
By the way, I was a freshman in high school when the Crow soundtrack. That was probably everybody was listening to that. Everybody was listening to the Crow soundtrack. That was that album. Yeah, that year.
I'm curious, with a budget of $300,000 for the first Halloween, how did John Carpenter get Blue Oyster Cult in the film?
Because licensing didn't cost nearly as much as it does now.
Or do you think they just snuck it in and didn't tell anybody?
No,
you can barely hear it unless you're looking for it.
Nah, it was a different world.
yeah. Some of my other favorite bands, Alice in Chains. I love Alice in Chains.
Smash Mouth.
Mogwai. You guys familiar with Mogwai?
Yes.
Feed 'em
Mogwai.
after midnight.
Love Mogwai. My Bloody Valentine. You guys like My Bloody Valentine?
Mm-hmm.
I'm into some shoegazing too. Deftones. The Afghan Wigs. I saw Lauren post about the Afghan Wigs the other night, and that reminded me of all the good music they made. Are you
still making?
Are you familiar with his with the Twilight Singers, which he was a part of for a while?
Yeah, I'm not really crazy about Dully without the rest of the band, to be completely honest. But that last Wigs album that came out just a couple years ago was amazing.
I saw the Twilight Singers probably 4 or 5 times in this really small venue in New York, in Newport, Kentucky. And when I do that, because it was basically half the show was Twilight Singers and the other half was like an Afghan Wigs reunion, because the other Afghan Wigs guys live in Cincinnati or nearby, like the bass player, and so they would all come up on stage and play Afghan Wigs songs. So it was always like a double show when I went and watched them, and it was always really fun. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I listen to really a lot of different stuff, but those would be my favorites.
Nobody said Nirvana, and I actually kind of like I like Bleach and Nevermind, and I even like In Utero. It's a hard word to say when you're not used to it.
Well, I
haven't said it in a while. I liked how Kurt Cobain basically said, we could do Nevermind Part 2 and sell just as many records and be just as popular, but fuck that shit. I don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
So he tried to make a record that was unlistenable to the fans of Nevermind, which I thought was a ballsy move, because he was like testing the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to see them about 6 months before he died.
Mm-hmm.
It was like November, the year before he died. I think he died in like the March or April or something like that. I can't remember exactly. March. I saw him the previous November. That was a band I really liked. I thought they had a reckless energy to them that I appreciate, because I am a punk fan too. So to me, being completely proficient at your instrument isn't as necessary as being entertaining. And providing something worth listening to doesn't mean you have to be a virtuoso that can, you don't have to be able to read music with your ass, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just have to be able to entertain me.
Well, the Seattle thing, the grunge thing, really broke during like my formative years, and everybody was loving Pearl Jam and Nirvana and Soundgarden and Alice in Chains, and somebody mentioned Candlebox in the chat, and Candlebox was all over MTV back in the day. I still hear Candlebox a lot on Sirius. What's the channel? Lithium. Yeah, they play Candlebox a lot on Lithium.
Stone Temple Pilots.
Yeah.
Stone Temple Pilots.
I
Yeah.
love Stone Temple Pilots. The top band at my high school was Dave Matthews.
Excuse me, I just threw up a little bit.
Thank you.
I like
Thank
music
you.
like that too.
I've never been
lot
a
of
fan.
jam bands.
Never been a fan of Dave Matthews.
How about what was that one goofy ass band that did the
Crash Test Dummies.
Crash Test Dummies.
Oh God.
So I hate to
That's
say
what
this.
thank God for Pantera. I would not have survived the 90s.
I hate to say this, but there's a really good chance that Dave Matthews are getting into the Hall of Fame this year. They have a lot of support behind them, and they're nominated.
Yeah.
I hate it, but it's going to happen, I think.
Yeah, I would much rather see
It is so
MC5
shitty, man.
in there, but that's
How
not
is
going to
Green
happen.
Day in the Hall of Fame and not Deep Purple? Like or Motorhead? Isn't that fucking ridiculous?
Well, Motorhead are on the ballot again this year. They won't get in this year either, but they're on the ballot.
It's a joke, man. It's a joke. Kiss said it best. Paul Stanley, he said it best. Kiss fan or not, Paul Stanley said this whole thing is bullshit. The fans decide if you're a Hall of Fame band or not,
You know
not
what,
this
though?
crap.
Wait a second. Yeah, Kiss said that, but then they showed up for their induction. The Pistols had it right. They didn't frickin' show.
No, you're right. That's better. I mean, Paul said we went for the fans, but I would have even liked it more if they wouldn't have gone. But
it's like the Oscars. It is all bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, isn't the Hall of Fame run by Rolling Stone magazine?
Something like that. It's a small group. Eddie Trunk is a part of the people that, and I mean, Eddie Trunk is like the Dave Meltzer of like music. And if you're a wrestling fan, you know what I'm talking about. A guy who doesn't know a fucking thing, but acts like he's a professional at it.
His claim to fame is that he worked for a record label back in the 80s, and
Metal
he
Blade.
signed Ace Frehley, and that's like his big claim to fame.
And the album didn't even go gold back in the day, for God's sakes. Like, it's like, bro, ain't nobody cared when Ace Frehley came out with Frehley's Coming. I like the album a lot. I love Rock Soldiers, but this album didn't even sell anything.
Well, man, I saw him open up for Alice Cooper, and the dude was so drunk, I felt bad for him. He was wearing a Mickey Mouse T-shirt, and his gut was hanging out underneath of it. He was so drunk. They start playing Cold Gin. He forgets to sing, and his rhythm guitar player has to start singing the song. I was in about the third row, and you can see Ace come out of his stupor and look at the guy what the hell are you doing? Oh yeah, I'm supposed to be singing. I felt so bad for him because Space Ace was cool. He was the cool part of Kiss for me in the 70s. But he went downhill real quick. But Piss said Alice in Chains. Their first two records I thought were as heavy as anything. Mm-hmm. Really, I saw them open up on. It was Megadeth, Slayer, and Anthrax, and Alice in Chains. Before they did the Big Four. I forget what the heck they called that, but it was a great show. Oh. And I was like, who's this Alice in Chains band? But they won me over at that show. It's the first time I ever heard of them. Mm-hmm. Went out and bought the record. Facelift was great. Dirt was great. Mm-hmm. They kind of went off a little bit, but the first two records always stuck with me.
Mm-hmm. Back in 2001, I was in LA, and I was hanging out with this girl, and we got an elevator, and Alice in Chains, I guess, was in the elevator. I had no idea who they were, right? So they get out of the elevator. She's like, oh, that was Alice in Chains. I was like, oh, okay. I had no idea who they were.
I got to. Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna tell you real quick. It's like when I took my wife to a Fangoria convention. She met Clive Barker, and she looked at me and she said, "Who's that?" She had no idea who half these people were. I said, "You do know that people would kill to be in some of these positions," and she's just like, "I don't even know who these people are."
Yeah.
I got a quick story to share. When I was in Tokyo, I was in the Navy and I was stationed in Japan for a few years. And when I went up to see Ep06 live, and I actually when the concert was over, I met some girls in a sea of Japanese, and I thought, what the hell? I go over there, I start talking to them, start flirting with them a little bit, and find out they're the band's girlfriends. So I ended up drinking with Ep06 that night. But the only other time I actually met a band, and this was totally random, but I was in a bar in Japan, and suddenly somebody told me, hey, over there, that's 311, right? 311? So I started talking to the lead singer, and I had one question. I did listen to 311's music, and I thought, this is my one chance. Let me ask you, what does the name 311 mean? Because I'm sure you guys remember in high school those stupid things that people would make up. I'm not going to go there, but I really wanted to know. And he basically told me, well, 2 members of the band are from Omaha, Nebraska, and 311 is the police penal code for indecent exposure.
I don't know what to say to
He told
that.
me. That's what he told me. That's what he told me.
Yeah.
I never forgot that.
Well, Lauren, do you have any bands that you want to add to Limp Bizkit as your favorites?
You know, Piz.
I think you said First Jason last week, so.
Because I love the keytar. Yeah, I have my list. I'm going to go through it real fast because I literally filled up a sheet of paper real quick. I worked in the retail side of music as a independent label buyer for a chain. Actually, I worked for the chain that Eddie Trunk actually started his career at. But anyway, so here's my favorite bands. White Lung, the Jet Blackberries, the Sex Pistols, Alice Cooper, the band, not the solo artist, 45 Grave, Outer Glow, Pitch Shifter, Sleeper Agent, Minor Threat, Dessa, Band of Skulls, Astronautilus, Superette, Soundgarden, Nine Inch Nails, Patti fucking Smith, Poe, The Cramps, Dead Sarah, Early Hole, The Smithereens, The Muffs, The Machines of Loving Grace, We're the In Crowd, Ice-T up through Home Invasion, Nothing After. In This Moment, The Stooges, The Adverts, Rise Against, The Damned, Mother Love Bone, Death of Samantha, Public Enemy, Rise Robots Rise, The Clash, Tears for Fears, Strapping Young Lad, and yes, Helen Reddy.
Hallelujah.
It's been a long time since I thought about the Cramps. They're great.
Dude, isn't Home Invasion just such a badass album, man? The way it starts, if you are offended by words like shit, fuck, all that's the best beginning to an album I've ever heard. I love Home Invasion. Home Invasion.
It was the last hurrah of classic Ice-T.
Yeah, I'm right, man.
What do you think of the first Body Count record?
You know, I want to like it, but it really isn't that good a record.
Dude, I like the newest Body Count. I really do. Man, that band is tight as hell.
I don't know, man. Evil Dick and KKK Bitch are pretty...
Cop Killer,
pretty
dude, that song had to have been controversial back then.
It was huge.
Yeah,
I got my white gloves on. I got my black shirt on. I love that.
They had to pull it off the record. They had to actually pull the record from the shelves, remove the song, and then re-release the record because of that.
That's right, man.
Ice-T actually pulled the record himself. He didn't even wait for Warner Brothers to do it. It was bad. It was going really bad.
I love Ice-T. That's an OG, man.
Yeah. But then he was down, Law and Order.
Law and Order. Special Victims Unit.
They always come around, you know.
Well, I saw an interview with him. He's like, I have multiple interests. He's like, there's the TV guy side of me, there's the rap guy side of me, and there's the rock guy side of me. Why should I limit how I express myself just because of what you think I should be? I thought that was a great answer.
Yeah, great answer.
There's a guy who wrote a book. This guy who wrote a book explaining all that called The Ice Opinion, or Who Gives a Fuck. And also, I'll note that he has a song called Rap is Fake. Important to probably recognize that he was really telling it how it was, no matter if it was like commercial suicide. Of course, at that time, he was invulnerable. He could do that. But, I mean, I saw him on Lollapalooza the first year, and I was not a fan of any rap at that point. And he won me over to the entire genre just by having more energy on stage than anyone else I saw that day. I mean, it was an amazing performance. And this is a guy who I was a rock guy. What did I know about hip hop? I mean, before that, I probably,
that's bad.
I wasn't even aware of most of it.
I went to a Cypress Hill show one time and had a great time. That was awesome.
Bet you did.
It was a weird show. It was Funk Dubious, which is an underrated rap group that I still like. They had one good record, Which Doobie You Be. Cypress Hill. It was an all-female metal band. I can't remember what their name was, Bitch or something. I can't. And it was Rage Against the Machine. It was like a wild show, man. It was great.
That's cool. I want to give a quick shout out to Spyglass Past also. let's give Spyglass Past some love.
Yeah. My drummer friend, R.I.P.
Yeah. Let's see. The Trash Stash mentions Nicki Minaj. I agree. Love Nicki Minaj.
Oh God.
She
I think the
thick.
stream is over.
She's thick though, man.
Yes.
I like the thickness. I'm sorry. Pizzelle likes thickness. I'm sorry.
Another band that's on the ballot this year for the Hall of Fame that should have been in already is Judas Priest.
Right.
Oh, they should have already been in there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Something I wanted to mention real quick is the Savage Streets soundtrack.
Love that soundtrack.
I want to mention that to anybody that hasn't listened to it. It's really cool. I think it's all on YouTube, probably.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
And Cameron, I know most of the music we've mentioned has a serious lack of yeahs, but you should still check some of it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Roland 666 asks if any of us are watching season 2 of Castle Rock.
No.
No,
I haven't started it yet. I'm going to.
I
haven't watched season 1 yet.
I really liked season 1, but I'm not a Hulu subscriber at this point, but
I heard really great things of Creep Show.
Creep Show's really good.
Dude, it's fantastic. My wife's watching that Castle Rock show. She loves it, but I never got into it.
Creep Show is fantastic, or it was fantastic.
Well, season 2's coming, so
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. Borderline 11 wants to know what is our favorite Walter Hill films.
Johnny Hansen.
48 Hours.
Good one.
But I really enjoyed your Red Heat review for the 4K.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, yeah.
I would probably go with 48 Hours too.
Oh.
Or, well, I don't know. What about the Warriors? I like the Warriors.
The Warriors.
Oh, that I didn't know who he did that. That'd be my pick.
Yeah.
Last Man Standing.
Mm-hmm.
With Bruce Willis. Come on, Lauren. Walter Hill.
No Walter Hill love?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not even the Warriors? Not Warriors?
Didn't he make some
I wanna
slasher movie?
I want to like the Warriors, but it's just I never get through it. I always walk away from it.
No love for 48 Hours?
No.
Oh man, I was gonna say like everything in the 80s and 90s. Like, I love all that stuff.
Piz, what was that slasher movie
I
he
don't-
did in the swamp that Scream Factory put out? The one, it was like I can't even remember. You got the IMDb, don't you? Open up, Jay?
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's
which one?
In the 70s, it's like some swamp movie.
Oh, Southern Comfort. Yeah,
there it
that's a
is.
great one.
Oh, yeah.
Southern Comfort, is that what he said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta see that.
Forgive
Isn't
me
that
if I'm
about some
wrong.
National Guard guys that go on maneuvers in the swamp, and some Cajun people take offense to their presence there and don't realize they're shooting blanks?
Pretty
It's,
much.
yeah, Keith Carradine, Powers Booth, Fred Ward. It's great.
Yeah.
Did he also do Streets of Fire?
Mhm.
Yeah.
He did? Okay.
I watched that just for shits and giggles.
And Willem Dafoe, of course.
Rambo Wrath, who's in the chat tonight. Rambo, hope you're doing well. He says, serious question, any of you guys watch Miami Vice? My first time seeing this show, and I highly enjoy it. I remember loving Miami Vice as a kid. Loved Miami Vice as a kid. I saw some reruns of it like on, was that like a TV Land or something not long ago? I mean, it's fun. It's very 80s. It's very
I remember
80s.
it from the 80s, Crockett and Tubbs, Don Johnson. I never got into it. I'm not saying it's bad. I don't think I've really watched that much of it. It was just like an It property back then. It was a thing for a while, and
It was huge, yeah.
and it just didn't appeal to me. Maybe I would watch it with older eyes and enjoy it, but I know as a younger person, I wasn't interested.
Have you guys ever seen Michael Mann's other TV movie called L.A. Takedown?
I have not, but I've seen Heat. I understand LA
Yeah.
Takedown is pretty much Heat, but I've not seen it.
Yeah, nobody watched it, and so he figured, okay, nobody watched it. I'll just remake it as Heat.
A little bigger budget, I imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see, what else have we got here? Adam, the movie picture history horror fan, says, "Do you guys have a top 5 Argento films and a top 5 Lucio Fulci films?" I don't know. I don't know. I can't list them, but Suspiria, Deep Red, Tenebrae, Opera.
Stendhal syndrome.
Oh no.
No, I would.
Bird with the crystal plumage.
Yeah, I would go. I would either go Bird with the Crystal Plumage or Phenomenon.
Got 9 lives.
Deep Red. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I need to see Deep Red.
Profundo Rosso for all our horror fans out there.
And as far as Lucio Fulci, Zombie, Gates of Hell, House by the Cemetery,
The Beyond.
The Beyond, of course. Yes, The Beyond.
Piz, what about I literally got it in the mail yesterday. City of the Living Dead. Is that good?
It's very good.
Awesome.
It's Gates of Hell, yeah.
That is Gates of Hell.
Now, okay, I'm sorry. Now, House by the Cemetery, I literally took the regular Blu-ray out of my cart because I'm holding out as long as I can for that 4K coming out in January. Because if I'm going to see the film, I want to see it in the best way. You know what I mean? I want to see it the best way I possibly can.
Some of that stuff almost plays better with grain, though. You know, like in a more of a gritty, like grindhouse style.
Yeah, if it's too clean, it kind of takes away some of the experience.
Well, I'm a youngster. I just want it to look as good as possible.
Yeah,
Talking about soundtracks. Anytime Goblin's involved, I'm gonna like it.
But hey, that Piz, did you notice on Two Evil Eyes, was yours, it looks great, right? But is it kind of grainy, especially if you're closer up to your TV?
In some of the darker sequences, yeah, it can. I didn't look at it very close up, but I remember it had a good film grain look. But in a lot of those movies, I mean, they can restore them to hell and back. But you know, there's just going to be some moments in the film that are just going to be overly grainy because they're dark or you know whatnot. So
yeah, I need to see Deep Red. Everybody tells me to see Deep Red because I'm really starting to get my feet wet with that Dario guy. I'm such a Americana guy. I avoided that shit for some reason. I have no problem admitting it. I was always George Romero and John, and so.
Oh man, there's so many great Giallos out there.
I'm being told that, so I'm gonna watch City of the Living Dead tonight, and I can't wait because House by the Cemetery sounds like my kind of movie. I remember one of y'all was putting it over big time. The name of the movie is like, God, that sounds so fucking rock and roll. House by the Cemetery. So I'm ready to see that, man. So
House is awesome. Underrated Fulci that doesn't get mentioned quite as much. One on top of the other is a great giallo with a lot of 60s perversion in it. Beatrice Cenci, which is really warped in its final act and is really good stuff. And the classic Don't Torture a Duckling, which may be the best giallo ever made. And as long as you're not Catholic, you'll love it.
Well, what was the Fulci movie?
I love it.
What was the Fulci movie where he played himself? It was like some strange movie made towards the end of his life.
Nightmare Concert.
What was it?
Yeah, Cat in the Brain, Nightmare Concert. It's challenging because he was working with no money. He was stringing together scenes from things he'd produced as well as directed. But it really is Wes Craven's New Nightmare before Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
That's actually one I was going to mention was Cat in the Brain.
I need to watch Don't Torture a Duckling because that's like the only big Fulci flick that I've not seen.
Such a weird title for a movie. You know what I mean? I think that's probably Piz. Is that why? Because I've heard of that, Lauren.
Well,
and that's probably why I never saw it because it's such a weird ass movie name.
It is a film about child murder.
It's a film. Yeah,
because it is not. You think a film made at its time period would be sidestepping the issue, and it is a very frank film.
Wow,
it's great.
See, now I'm sold. So you can't trick me with these. Yeah, y'all can't trick me with these titles, man. Y'all got to give it to me straight ahead. Just tell me make the movie. Tell me that the plot of the movie needs to be the name. You know, for me.
Well,
but see, no American movie would ever be called that. That's why you know it's a good European film.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Well, you got to remember that giallo literally is a reference to the yellow paperbacks of the between 50s and 60s and early 70s in Italy, which were very lurid. And so they all had titles like this. They all had these very poetic titles to sneak into the bookstores and not get banned. But in reality, they were like some of the most graphic, nasty stuff that probably couldn't be published today.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, Christian, you need to see Don't Torture a Duckling, but do not go in expecting Zombie or Gates of Hell / City of the Living Dead. They're not fun. It's not a fun movie, but
It's a slow burn.
incredible.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I'm loving this kind of stuff, and I think Arrow put out a lot of that. And I'm such an Arrow fan. I love Arrow titles, so I'll be picking all those up.
We need to do a Fulci show.
Yeah.
Well, for our fans out there, there's an Arrow sale going on right now at BarnesandNoble.com.
Oh, hell yeah! I'm gonna get deep red and that other one.
Did anyone mention Four Flies on Grey Velvet yet? That's a great one.
I'm not that huge a fan of it. It looks great, but its plot is wonky.
I love Phenomena, but I have yet to sit through all 3 versions of it. So
I don't blame you. That's another film that visually works, but the plot is kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's one I was never the biggest fan of.
But
Love Jennifer Connelly.
Opera is my favorite.
I love opera. I love opera.
Yeah. Opera's my favorite too, man. I've since we did our show on Argento or show on Giallos, whatever it was. Man, I've really come to love that film. I love the effects in it.
The effects, but it's also the it's the camera work with the music. I love when camera work moves with the music, and when the music pitches and the camera starts turning around in circles in the room and stuff like that. It's just, I eat that stuff up.
Mm.
And we haven't mentioned Inferno, and I mean, as the last thing Bava worked on, I mean, it's got such a pedigree, and it's a great kind of, it's almost a poem that happens to be a film. It's not a narrative at all, and I kind of love that.
Not Mother of Tears.
Mother of Tears with a budget and real actors might have been something, but as it stands.
There's a whole period I have not seen. Do you like Hitchcock? I've not seen his Dracula. Like, I stayed away from all of those.
I've been told not to watch the Dracula.
So if you want,
I've seen it, and yeah, you don't want to see it.
But there is a giant praying mantis in the film.
I heard about that.
Yeah, I would say if you're going to go for any later Argento with any hope, Sleepless is the movie. It's the only one that I will stand up for.
I got that Anchor Bay DVD of it. I hated it, but I'm pretty sure it was cut. So,
I like the concept of trauma. I'm not saying it's a great flick, but I did enjoy it because of the concept.
I had to, the first time I saw Tenebrae, I really did not like it. But then the second time I loved it. The second time I watched it, I absolutely loved it. That's like one of my favorite Argento movies.
When I first saw Tenebrae, it was called Unsane.
It's cut to ribbons.
It's cut to ribbons. And I remember reading an essay about it and watching and going, what the hell is this? But this movie's terrible. Terrible. And then the Anchor Bay Laserdisc came out, I believe it was. And my friend's like, oh, you have to see it uncut. And I said, this movie's terrible. I got it. I was like, oh, this explains everything. Like, I mean, they cut it to like a 95-minute film. It was terrible. Just like Creepers for Phenomena. It was terrible.
Awful.
Well, I'm gonna call it there. The Q&A is over. We've had a lot of great questions from you guys out there in the chat. We really appreciate it. Yeah, great Q&A. Thanks for all the awesome questions, you guys. Let's do a new segment. We're gonna premiere a new segment on tonight's show. And it's going to be called Lorne's Scorn. So, Lorne, tell us about something that is really getting on your nerves lately.
So, I have the Regal Club Pass where I don't pay for movies. Each movie I pay monthly $22, and I can go see as many movies as I want, as long as the showtimes don't overlap and they're not a Fathom event or something like that. The good side of it is on days where I decide to go to the movies, I take in double features, which is the reason I saw both Terminator, Dark Fate, and Countdown on the same day, one after another, and it was great because I didn't really pay for it. I pay once a month. However, I had the wrong audience for the wrong film because during Terminator, besides the people who walked out and the one guy who was asleep, there was no distractions. There was no cell phones coming out. There was no people talking. There was no one making fun of the film. And the film deserved all those things. But then Countdown, which was better than I expected, although I don't think I'll ever revisit it, it had probably the worst audience ever. It was all children, and I mean like children. with no parents in sight. It was all like 15, 16-year-olds who all had their phones out, all were having private conversations, and all making farting sounds at the screen, no matter what was occurring on screen. And I don't begrudge them that they were doing it in the movie theater, because I understand millennials are millennials, they're going to millennial, right? But why couldn't they have done this during Terminator Dark Fate, where it would have been appropriate and thematically make sense? The film that was better than I wanted it to be, I wouldn't mind them to have been respectful. So I think what we need is a new policy in movie theaters, whereas you should have the right to push a button on the back of the seat in front of you that calls a manager into the theater, and the manager should have the discretion to walk in, and if he knows the film is, well, Terminator Dark Fate, maybe he doesn't do anything about it. But if he walks in and it's an okay film or a great film, he shouldn't even throw people out. He should have a baseball bat and just walk over and slam them on the back of the head a few times until they're not conscious. Then they won't disturb anyone. On the other hand, maybe if the film is bad enough, maybe he comes in and judges it and makes it kind of like a contest of who was most clever with their insult of the film. In which case, he would have had to spend the whole time in Terminator Dark Fate. But I think the managers are paid enough, and that's what I see as a real antidote for what's going on in theaters today.
I thought you were going to say they pushed a button and it like electrocutes the person in front of you or something.
I'm not cruel.
Oh goodness, what's going on in the Obsoletionist Retro Gaming Corner tonight? What retro video game can you recommend for us this weekend?
Glad you asked. Well, if you want to let out some frustration, which a lot of people on this panel apparently need to let out some frustration, I recommend Streets of Rage for the Sega Genesis. Walk around, beat people up with pipes, bats, you name it. Good times, 1 or 2 players, kind of Double Dragon meets Final Fight. You can play it, on the original Sega Genesis, or you can get it on anything from like PS3, 360 up, Steam, mobile. It's out there, and it's a good way to blow off a little steam.
Did you buy the mini Sega Genesis console thing that was recently released?
No, I haven't. I have the 2 Super Nintendo consoles, but I have most of those games and access to all of them, so I'll pick it up at some point. But at $80, it's got to be the right time.
Mm-hmm. I hear you. Yeah, Streets of Rage. I have fond memories of Streets of Rage. Good game.
Yes, it's pretty sweet.
I think I've got Streets of Rage on my smartphone.
Yeah. Android and iOS, it's free.
That's cool. Heck yeah. What's going on tonight in Stingray Spotlight?
Well, when you think you've seen enough zombie movies, I've seen it all. I'm tired of zombie movies. Walking Dead, they killed it for everybody. Then comes One Cut of the Dead, which I think Lauren is the one who turned everybody onto this one. Really, really great film. I really enjoyed it. I need to watch it again, actually. But it's on Shudder for those of you guys that have Shudder. So, Shudder's really been killing it lately, man. They've got some great stuff on that site right now. And, Creep Show and all that.
Yeah, right on.
I've been known to talk bad about Shudder in the past, but right now they're doing pretty good.
Hey, Jay, was it anything like what you thought it would be?
No, not at all.
It's so cool.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I'm going to watch it again.
Oh, cool. Very, very cool.
It's Japanese, I think.
It is.
Yes. All right. Well, let's go ahead and let's wrap it up. Big thanks to everybody who tuned in tonight. Thanks again for all the awesome questions that you guys asked us. Thanks to everybody on my panel for hanging out tonight and talking movies and having fun. We will return next week for a live commentary for Halloween H2O. You guys wanted it, we're going to give it to you. If you want it, we'll give it to you. Halloween H2O next. No, I'm joking. Next Thursday, we are going to be watching the Thanksgiving classic, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome.
Who's sending me a copy?
or Blood Rage. Do you guys want to watch Blood Rage instead?
I love Blood Rage.
I love Blood Rage too. That's That's
I
good.
thought we were going to do Thanksgiving, Piz.
Yeah, well, one of the 4 Thanksgiving horror movies.
Oh, geez. We'll figure it out before next week, what we're watching. We'll figure it out. Don't worry. But, yeah, thanks again for tuning in, guys. We appreciate it. Home Sweet Home. I forgot about Home Sweet Home, David. Yes, that's another one. I think that one's actually on YouTube, so we could all just watch that on YouTube. And, yeah. All right, well, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. We'll see you next week right here on the Sausage Factory YouTube channel. Until then, you guys have a great one. Take care and peace.